UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hello there, very good morning to you. Good to have you on board. The headline this morning, there's going to be a big energy bill announcement later today.
Yes, in an hour's time, the energy regulator is expected to raise the price cap for the coming year.
And despite the government blaming soaring prices on the gas market, new analysis by us shows the biggest culprit is the explosion in subsidies for renewable energy.
Farmers keep fighting. As the NFU conference takes place today, the government is being urged to reset its relationship with agricultural workers after months of protest.
New powers for police. What do you think about this one? And one of the biggest updates for decades, officers could search for stolen goods without a warrant.
A change for Ukraine. A spokesperson for Downing Street has said President Trump's influence on the global conversation around Ukraine has been for the better.
Could your phone be the secret to keeping you healthy? Apple thinks so. We have an exclusive interview with the tech giant about how they're planning to revolutionize hearing aids.
Hearing is your connection to the world. It's how you communicate. It's how you build relationships. It's part of it's core to your social being.
Romance or rivalry? The French president, Emmanuel Macron, becomes the first European leader to meet President Trump at the White House. But it's their awkward handshake that's going viral.
I said, that's not what we said. He's a smart customer, I will tell you that. I have no idea what he's saying, but...
As almost a third of children have refused to go to school at least once in the past year, we're asking, should there be harsher penalties for skipping class?
As portraits of our great political leaders have been removed from Parliament since Labour took to office, we're asking, is Britain ashamed of its past?
And in the sport this morning, Leeds United looking more and more likely for a return to the Premier League as they beat second-place Yorkshire rivals Sheffield United 3-1 last night. Plenty of Premier League games tonight. And can Manchester United save any more money?
We have sunshine and showers today, and then a spell of more persistent rain arriving tomorrow. For more details on this, stick around, as I'll have the info coming up.
Hello there, just after 6 o'clock on this Tuesday morning, I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
So, Paul, if we were setting out to steal something, I wonder where this golden loo would come on our list of priorities. There's a court case going on at the moment where these guys have admitted to stealing this. This is from Blenheim Palace, Ellie.
I'd like that in my house.
And I find the most unusual thing, I find it strange that it was used. You know, it was there, you could use it. It was in a museum in New York. 100,000 people relieved themselves.
Hold on, they used it?
Yeah, this is the scene from after they pulled it out and flooded the place and whatever. But it was worth millions, 40 million quid apparently, and there's a trial going on at the minute.
Wait, so it was in Blenheim Palace or it was in New York?
No. It goes around the place.
Oh, it goes travelling. It's a travelling loo.
It's a travelling loo.
Right.
And I think let's see the loo. I don't want to see anything else. But just see the loo there. The thing about the loo is it may all look beautiful and things, but when you think actually what it's used for and what is done in it,
yes,
it's not beautiful, is it? It's not beautiful when you think about that.
I'm thinking of phrases like polishing. No, we can't use that one. Or the goose that laid the golden egg, or something. Or the police have nothing to go on.
What faces the police in finding this?
Well, they have nothing to go on, do they?
Nothing to go on.
You know what? I'm almost embarrassed. I'm embarrassed saying that. I am.
That was good.
I am embarrassed saying that.
Well, I'll say it the next time. I'll steal it.
So how much is it worth? Millions then? It's
40 million.
So why?
That must be pure gold.
It's got to be really heavy then, isn't it?
Really heavy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How did they get it out of there? So many questions.
So many questions. We did it at 3 o'clock.
And where are they going to put it? Just in their normal house?
Well, wherever they've put it, nobody can find it now. So.
Do they melt it down, do you think?
That's actually a very good idea.
That's what you would do.
So you would go for the toilet, melt the thing down.
Yeah.
So it's like the Brinks mat thing all over again.
Smell.
No, well, no, if it's clean properly, it would. If you use the stuff around the rim and everything, I'm sure it'd be absolutely fine.
Down.
Use the old, yeah.
You couldn't just put. What do you put down the loo these days? What do you do? What do you?
A bleach?
Yeah.
No, what do you?
Toilet duck.
Yeah. Other brands are available.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
Toilet duck.
Well,
Yeah.
Well,
maybe not.
We know whatever
Okay.
when was the last time you cleaned a toilet?
If next time you're relieving yourself, have a look and see if it is something that's golden and lovely and.
You'd know about it.
We're talking about the toilet
stolen.
here.
Has been stolen.
Yeah.
Millions of households will find out this morning about a rise in their energy bills starting from April. It's going to be announced at 7 o'clock. New prices for the spring and the summer months.
Well, experts forecast that bills will rise by about 5%, seeing the typical household energy bill rise by about £85 to £1,823.
The government is pointing the finger at rising gas prices on the global market, but analysis for GB News shows the biggest culprit is the explosion in subsidies for renewable energy and net zero policies.
Well, in response to this increase, nearly 3 million households in the UK will be eligible for the £150 warm home discount next winter, bringing the total number of recipient homes to an estimated 6.1 million.
Deputy Editor of Spike Online, we say hello, good morning and welcome to Fraser Myers.
Good morning. Well, this is difficult for consumers, difficult for the government as well. I mean, let's not forget Labour promised that bills would come down by £300. You won't hear that figure bandied about much by Ed Miliband anymore. And I think, you know, the GB News analysis is correct. This is to do with, for the past decade at least, government has prioritised net zero and climate change over energy prices. The result of that is that, you know, we're paying a lot more for electricity. Wind and solar power don't work when the weather isn't favourable. That often means we have to rely on imported gas to make up for the shortfalls. There was a point this winter where the wind speeds were so low that we were paying 100 times over the market price for gas at the last minute. So that's the sort of danger you put yourself in when you have a grid that relies on renewable energy. And the government's not powerless to deal with gas prices either. We have abandoned fracking. Recently, a huge gas field in Lincolnshire was discovered, could provide 10 years' worth of gas for the UK. Ed Miliband says, no, keep it in the ground. They're shutting down North Sea oil and gas as well. So, you know, the government has to take responsibility for this.
You know, Britain is a pimple on the backside of humanity. What difference do we make shutting all this down, people suffering, job losses, and Labour will promise new jobs, whatever, but these aren't jobs. They don't exist. It's all way off in the future. Now, surely, is not the time to do all of this.
That's absolutely right. And even the Tony Blair Institute, which is favourable to these kinds of net zero policies, has admitted recently that actually there's no jobs coming out of this. You know, these are just numbers on... People will produce a paper and they'll say, in theory, there will all be all these magical green jobs. But actually, real jobs are being shut down in the here and now. You know, we had Port Talbot shedding more than several thousand jobs. We have car factories closing down. We have Grangemouth, Scotland's largest oil refinery, closing down.
Power plants as well.
Yeah.
You see, I look at it. I can see us encouraging green energies and things. I can see all that. But you encourage that. But you don't knock all these places down and close them up. In the meantime, surely they can exist side by side.
Well, you would think so, but I think the problem is we have, especially in the form of Ed Miliband, but also in Energy Secretaries past, it's ideological. You know, they really believe that the key thing is reducing emissions rather than promoting British industry.
Is going to reduce, let me take an example, car jobs in this country as well. I mean, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm saying that is a direct consequence of the policies that he's proposing.
Absolutely, and I think most sensible people are starting to wake up to this. But if you are a green ideologue, if you think that climate change is the biggest thing threatening humanity, then you almost ignore the risks.
I'm not saying that climate change isn't a threat to humanity.
And none of us are, yeah.
Yeah, but what I would say is everything in proportion. And as I say, we are a pimple on the backside of the world. What difference if India's not doing this, if China's not doing this, if Brazil is not doing this? What's the point?
And recently it came out that the UK is one of the few countries that is sticking to this. I mean, other countries are still, officially have net zero pledges, but Britain is the only one that's taking it seriously. Even, we're supposed to submit these sort of carbon reports to the UN as part of the COP process. Britain was the only one that did it recently. So we really need to rethink. The rest of the world is rethinking. We have bigger priorities at the moment. We're worried about rearming. We're worried about the threats on our border. We need industry to if we're going to rebuild our military. We need growth as well. People are suffering out there. People need.
Well, talking about people
prosperity.
that are suffering, in terms of the impact on people, you think of pensioners without winter fuel allowance, bills going up potentially today for the third successive increase in energy bills, and burden on businesses as well, on top of the national insurance rise.
The burden on businesses is extraordinary. Britain has the highest industrial energy prices in the developed world. That just means that our businesses are uncompetitive. It means that it's not affordable to produce manufactured goods in Britain, and that has a huge knock-on effect. It's so difficult for companies, especially in heavy industry in particular. They live or die on their energy costs, and we need to be helping them, not adding yet more pain onto those businesses.
Well, if we are adding more, you're the one who's going to have to pay for it, and we'd like your views with having your say this morning. So give us your say. We'll reflect that throughout the programme today. And, at the end of the day, does the world come first? Us doing our bit for the world, is that really the only important thing? Or have we to worry about how people actually pay their bills in the financial crisis that exists at the moment?
Now, 11 minutes past 6, the government's flagship crime and policing bill enters Parliament today, planning to enhance police powers when tackling crime.
Now, this bill will include measures to tackle knife crime, stalking, spiking, terrorism threats and the criminal and sexual exploitation of children.
Well, under this new update, police will no longer need to apply for a warrant to search premises where stolen items have been located.
OK, we're joined by former police officer and host of Protected Serve podcast, Oliver Lawrence. Oliver, this is interesting. Every time I watch a detective or police programme on television, the good guys are always spoilt because they haven't got a warrant to search. They can't do things. And as a viewer, you sit and you go, it's ridiculous. Oh, why did they have this? I see why you do need one, but I also see big time why you don't need one. What's your view?
No, I agree, Eamonn. Good morning to you and Ellie. Thanks for having me on. With a crime wave sweeping the United Kingdom, with burglaries happening across this country every 170 seconds, it gives me great joy to see that the government implementing a sweep of new powers and abilities for police to execute some of these searches without needing a warrant. There's been time and time again, we hear from victims of crime who've reported that they found their iPhones and they found their iPads using that GPS technology that was available, but with the police powerless to do anything. So it's incredibly positive to hear that this is moving in the right direction to give the police the ability to move quickly to recover stolen items and try to slow down this wave of crime that we're seeing. My biggest concern still remains that with all these new powers and new abilities, what police officers are we going to use to be able to enact all this? We're in essence asking the police to do even more with the same amount of resources that we've got. We're not actually really, sadly, tackling the problem. I don't want to be the Grinch at Christmas here, but equally, you know, there are many, many challenges facing law and order in this country. And unless we tackle all of them together, sadly, I don't think we're going to see the greatest amount of effect that we'd like to see across the country.
You don't actually think we're going to see this enacted on our streets because it won't be possible. There simply won't be the resources, the manpower for police officers to come out and look at all of these cases.
Ellie, we're seeing vast numbers of very experienced operational police officers leaving the occupation at ridiculous numbers. And it's because morale is at an all-time low. It's because they're lacking the quality leadership that's required. We've got institutions like the College of Policing and the National Police Chiefs Council making absolutely absurd decisions around what the policing priorities at the moment. We've only seen some of that being executed over the weekend in rather bizarre circumstances. So I think really what this comes down to is strong leadership, good guidance by those senior leaders, making clear decisions that the priorities at the moment are fighting crime. There are thousands of incredible, brave men and women on the front line of policing who want to be able to carry out these roles, but they're hampered because they're being told to investigate and prioritise non-hate crime speech and other things that we seem to appear on Facebook and social media. So for me, it's about policing priorities, and it's about supporting the men and women on the front line and giving them the funding that they need.
And you think then frontline police officers will look at this and say, if this comes about, this would really free up our jobs and make our jobs easier?
Well, I think what they'll say is, in the vast amount, a lot of these powers and legislation that's being pushed through, a lot of them already exist. In some cases, we're providing, and if you look at drink spiking as an example, there are already 3 pieces of legislation which allow police officers to pursue that type of crime. Drink spiking is going to be classified now as an independent offence which police can go after. And listen, I'm a huge advocate for increasing, the crimes which exist to prevent and to increase the safety for women and girls across this country. But for me, in the essence, it's the resources that we need, it's the funding that we need, and we need our police officers to be able to be freed up, to be able to get back out on the road, to be able to see victims, and to be able to help them in their time of need. At the moment, that doesn't exist because they're just understaffed, overworked, thousands of rest days and holidays cancelled. It really, really is a difficult time for them in terms of trying to manage the stability of crime across the country.
Oliver, thanks for giving us an insight. Very, very much appreciated. We have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Oliver Lawrence there. Your view, have your say. Same again with all the stories that we're discussing. What's got you talking about them, and what do you think about search warrants, when they're needed, when they're not needed, and would the police life be easier without them? Would we catch more criminals? Would we deter more crime? Have your say.
Now at 16 minutes past 6, let's take a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom this morning. And Nigel Farage has hit back at the Prime Minister after Sir Keir Starmer accused the Reform UK leader of the party's, quote, dangerous politics. Addressing members in Cornwall last night, Nigel Farage also took aim at activists who attempted to disrupt the event.
Let me give a message to Antifa. Let me give a message to two-tier Keir Starmer. Let me give a message to all of them. We will not be cowed. We will not be silenced by anybody. We are the British people, and we want a common sense government back in charge of our country. We're going to fight for it, and we are going to win.
France is prepared to deploy fighter jets with nuclear weapons to protect Europe amid potential American military withdrawal. It comes as Friedrich Merz, who is expected to be the next German Chancellor, has urged Britain and France to provide nuclear protection to achieve European independence from the United States.
A court has heard how it took just 5 minutes for thieves to steal the 2.8 million point gold toilet from Blenheim Palace last year. Oxford Crown Court has heard the toilet was most likely broken up and has not yet been recovered. It weighed approximately 98 kilograms. It was created by an Italian artist.
But the good news is they left behind the toilet roll holder.
Wow. They left behind something then.
Well, that's something.
Yeah. What did you make of Trump and Macron yesterday? All the hand-holding between them.
We have a saying. It was FAF. It was false. False and...
Do you think?
Oh, come on.
I think they can't...
What do you see? Do you know what? these sort of photo opportunities are made for people like you, people who are naive.
Oh,
do you actually
dear.
think they're the best made? Macron, you say his name, Emmanuel Macron. He will come out of there and he'll say, I couldn't stand him.
Well, it's not what he was saying yesterday at this press conference. We got the clip of this. So he was saying we're really good friends, and they kept holding each other.
And you believe that?
And then, no, do you know what I actually think it is? I think both of them are men with big egos, and neither of them wanted to be the one to let go.
Well,
they just kind of held on to each other.
Well, the one who's going to win always and is winning is Donald Trump, right? So Macron, little man that he is trying to sort of make himself that he's as big as Trump in all this, and we're besties and all that sort of thing. But it's rubbish. It's false. Of course it's false.
Well, he was giving it his best shot. I mean, at one point yesterday, we'll hopefully get the clip for you in the newspapers a little bit later on. He grabbed Trump's hand and kind of put it on his lap.
Have we ever seen, lucky it was only his lap, have we ever seen, I was like, I interviewed Monica Lewinsky. I did her first live British TV interview. And I mentioned something about President Clinton. And she said, oh, you know the president, do you? Incidentally, I do admire her. I think she's very, very smart. She said, you know the president, do you? I said, actually, I have met him. I said, but unlike you, I only shook his hand. She laughed. She laughed.
Did she?
She laughed.
Oh, you're lucky you got a laugh there.
She gasped like you. No, but she laughed. She was great about that. But that's true. But as for this, Macron is trying to look like he's Trump's buddy because Trump is the man with all the power.
Yes.
In this.
He wants to escape some tariffs if he can.
And I don't believe a word of it.
Nah.
I don't believe it. Yeah.
Well, let us know what you think. Do you think it is a bromance or do you think it's false? gbnews.com/yoursay.
Alex Burkhill, good morning to you on a rotten day in our part of the world this morning.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Plenty of sunny spells on offer today, but also plenty of showers. And some of these could be a bit heavy with the risk of a little bit of hail and some thunder too. Through this morning, the showers are most frequent across northwestern parts. But as we go through the day and into the afternoon, they are going to become a bit more widespread, spreading across many parts, though towards the southeast, largely avoiding them here. Like I said, some of the showers could be on the heavy side and there could be a bit of hail and thunder mixed in with them as well. Temperatures are around or a touch above average for the time of year. Many places towards the south getting into double figures, highs of around 11 or 12 Celsius. More showers to come as we go towards the end of the day, but like I said, fewer showers towards the southeast of the UK, so a largely dry evening here with some clear spells, perhaps a greater chance of a few scattered showers across more western parts of England and Wales. Plenty of showers still to end the day across Northern Ireland and much of Scotland too, especially towards the west. Some of them here still on the heavy side, and there could be a bit of winteriness, perhaps a little bit of sleet or snow over the highest ground. But as we go overnight, we are going to see most of those showers clearing away, and we are going to have largely clear skies, particularly towards the east, clinging onto those clear skies. Meanwhile, further west, the cloud is going to build. We're going to have some rain pushing in and some strengthening winds too. Where that happens, temperatures are going to pick up as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning, but in the east, it is going to stay quite chilly. There could be a touch of frost in some places, also some mist and fog patches as well. That wet weather in the west does spread its way east and southeastwards as we go through Wednesday. There's likely to be a bit of sleet and snow over the higher ground of the hills, and there could even be some rumbles of thunder as that rain pushes through. There will be some brighter weather ahead and behind the rain, but also plenty of showers feeding in through the afternoon too, and temperatures down a nudge compared to today. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, if you have a golden toilet at home, time to christen it, because we're going to give you a comfort break, and then we're back talking about
Apple and hearing. The question is, what do the two have in common?
Hearing is your connection to the world. It's how you communicate. It's how you build relationships. It's part of it's core to your social being.
Now, Miss Ellie sat down for an important chat with Apple, that lady's big executive there, to see what innovations they're making up using technology and combining it with health.
Yeah.
And hearing is very, very important, whether people realise it or not, because if you've bad hearing, it could lead to dementia. Talking about that next.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I'm here in M. Manzi's, which is now the oldest surviving pie and eel shop in London. It's been open since 1892, and as you said in the intro there, it's really sort of a dying breed. One of the sister sites of this shop, the distant relative, owned one of their own other shops in Deptford, and that closed on Saturday for the very last time. They've been open for over 100 years. So you clearly see that there's a declining, not necessarily a declining interest, that's the wrong way of putting it, but it's nowhere near as prevalent as it used to be. This is a staple of the East End, and it's now gone from about 300 shops in the Victorian times to under 40 now, and it's declining further and further. Now, also, a couple of months ago, I was in Basildon talking about a similar story with Richard Holden, trying to create a protected status for pie and mash to prevent sort of copycats from stealing the recipe and making it less authentic. So that is ongoing. There's clearly interest in it, and tourists enjoy coming in here. Hopefully, I'll get one of my own pies shortly and have another taste. But it would be a shame to see this go. It's not just about the pie and the taste and the flavour, which is fantastic. It's also about history and community. A lot of people come in here as regulars, so we're just shining a light on a crucial part of London's historic economy. It's a bit of good fun, and it certainly tastes very good as well. Demographics have changed, yeah, and actually a lot of the ownership, the people who would run these shops traditionally over the last few decades are moving out towards the west, they're moving towards Kent, they're moving towards Sussex. So there are demographic changes, and no doubt that is influencing it as well. And as I say, it's important to do stories like this just to remind people of London's history and why it's important to support these local businesses.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Coming up to 27 minutes past 6 o'clock on this Tuesday morning, on television, on radio, online, wherever you're watching us, if you're listening to us, you're very welcome.
Now it's time for the Great British Giveaway. And if you want to be one of our 2 new winners, each with a new iPhone, shopping vouchers and £10,000 in tax-free cash, here are all of the details that you need.
Don't miss your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British Giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on the 7th of March. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
What?
What?
What? Hearing loss, right? 8 million people in this country are already experiencing it, and the figure is set to rise. Now, we are wearing, what are these called?
These are AirPods. These are AirPods Pro 2. You will have seen these everywhere. People wear them to listen to music, listen to podcasts, to take phone calls. It's an everyday item that millions of us here in Britain already wear.
Your argument is, although you can see this, and it's quite obvious, and I would feel conscious walking around wearing that, it's very comfortable, whatever, and you think it's like second nature.
It's like second nature. It's an everyday
People aren't
item.
going to say, what's that big white thing hanging out of Eamonn's ear?
Yeah.
No?
If you spend any time in offices or commuting or on the bus, you will notice people wearing their AirPods. So Apple have come up with this great idea to implement a new feature, and it is essentially a hearing aid that works in your AirPods, just your everyday AirPods. So you take a test on your phone and it will tell you your results, what you can and can't hear, how many decibels you can hear, and then it automatically applies it to your AirPods. So when you're listening to music or I'm talking to you right now, it automatically adjusts that you can hear everything perfectly. It's very clever.
When I was 50, doing this job, see, we wear
earpieces.
And I've been wearing these almost for 46 years of my life or whatever, and people screaming in your ear. I went, so I was having an update, I was having a new one made when I was 50 years of age, and I went to the hearing aid place, and they said, while you're here, we'll do a test on your hearing.
Yeah.
That's good. Right, so they did a test, and it was really easy, and they fire noises, and you press a buzzer every time you hear it.
And that's the way it works on the Apple one as well.
Beep, 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 beep. So I'm going beep, 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 beep. That's all good. And I said at the end of that, I said, so how was that? And she said, oh, that was very good, Mr. Holmes. That was quite a normal result for a man of your age. You have the correct amount of hearing loss for a man your age. I said, how much is that? And she said, 30%. 30% hearing
You can only hear 30%, or you're at 70%.
You've lost 30% of your hearing capability by the time you're 50 years of age. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, this doesn't apply to me, how wrong you are.
Yes, and actually it's things like commuting, listening to music and restaurant noise now, all these lifestyle factors that are making hearing loss even more prevalent in society. Well, yesterday I went to the Apple headquarters in London where I met the Vice President of Health. She's an inspiring woman called Dr. Sambod Desai. And this is what she told me.
Desai, thank you so much for joining us on GB News Breakfast. It's really, really good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
We are so excited about this new feature. In terms of the quality of life, how is this going to impact the individual?
It goes back to that point of hearing is your connection to the world. It's how you communicate. It's how you build relationships. It's it's core to your social being. And so our hope is that this will have impact to be able to drive connections for those who have been suffering from hearing loss and allow them to experience those special moments.
Okay, so how does the hearing aid feature actually work?
It's really simple, and that is what's so beautiful about the feature. We designed it so it could be used across all age groups, all tech savviness, if you will. You simply take a hearing test right on your iPhone using the AirPods Pro 2. It creates a personalized hearing profile, which then automatically pre-programs the AirPods Pro 2 to work as a hearing assistive device. And so just with a touch of a button, you'll now be able to augment the frequencies where you may need some assistance. And what's beautiful about the hearing test is it's a clinically validated audiogram. So we compared it to what is considered gold standard in the hearing world. And the hearing aid the hearing aid feature basically simply turns on and allows you to use it not just when you're talking with one another, like with another individual, but whether you're using it across phone calls, your media, your entertainment. So it's a really simple experience.
And have you noticed, because this has been rolled out around the world before it's come here to Britain, but have you seen a spike in people realising that they actually have hearing loss as a result of taking the test with this feature?
I can anecdotally share with you that even just in my circle and talking to people sometimes have picked up things that they didn't expect and noticed that they had some hearing issues. What's probably been so impactful is the letters we get from customers. One of the ones that we just got last week was a grandmother who was able to hear her soft-spoken grandchild for the first time by using this. And I think that is what's so special about it. We've already heard from customers around the world who have been able to use it over the past few months, how it's made an impact in their life.
Can we talk about you for a moment, Dr. Desai, because you are the most inspirational, incredible woman, and we want to talk to you because it's International Women's Day on the 8th of March, and you have had such a varied career.
I went to medical school, practiced for a number of years, and then decided to really look at a company like Apple, and they came calling, which was an amazing experience.
But you mentioned healthcare being personal. And it is. And I think for many people looking at this feature and wanting to use it, they will understandably be nervous about their personal health data being presumably put on the cloud. What are you doing to keep health data safe in your hands?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that question, because at Apple, we really believe that your data is your data. And in fact, so much so that your data doesn't get put on a cloud. Your data is encrypted on device locally. So your data is on your phone or on your watch. We don't actually put your data in a cloud.
Can we talk about the reaction to this rollout of this feature in the UK? You're front page of the Telegraph.
We're thrilled. And I have to say the UK government has been such a great partner. Wes has been a great partner. You know, one of the things about our hearing aid features is it's a regulated feature because it is held to the standards of traditional medical standards of hearing aids. And as a result, we have to go through the regulatory pathway and work with the government to get clearance. And where the UK government and Wes have been so incredibly helpful is bringing this to customers in an over-the-counter manner. It doesn't require a prescription. You can simply just take the hearing test and use the feature.
What are you most proud of that Apple has rolled out in the health space so far?
That's like choosing a favorite child. That's really difficult. Cardio fitness is one that I use every day. I love to kind of see where my cardio fitness and my VO2 max is. The women's health features I'm particularly proud of because we were, I think, a company like ours getting behind women's health and talking about cycle tracking and ovulation and temperature changes that occur, educating individuals in that space. And then we receive letters every single day on our heart features, our ECG and our irregular heart rhythm and high heart rate notifications. I literally hear from customers almost every day. We receive letters from, they write to Tim and we get those emails every day on how it's had impact. So I honestly can't pick one. They really are all pretty remarkable in their own way.
And you've mentioned those letters, clearly that they really touch you, don't they? How do they make you feel when you read those and see the impact that it's having on people's lives?
They do, and they motivate our team. They're like fuel for our team to do even more. And I think we all read them, and often, to be honest, they surprise us. We just received one recently. We have a vitals feature on Watch where you're able to look at different metrics around your heart rate, your sleep, your respiratory rate. And this one totally shocked me. Someone detected that they noticed on their vitals feature that they got a notification. They were feeling a little bit off. A few of their metrics were off. They went to the doctor. They ended up getting diagnosed with leukemia. And so sometimes they even blow my mind in terms of what we see. And I think they're just having impact in ways that we couldn't even imagine. And I think that's what's so special about so many of them. So it's so hard to pick one because each one of them there's just stories for each one of them that truly stay with you.
Dr. Desai, thank you so much for speaking to us. Honestly, such a pleasure to meet you. And thank you for everything you're doing in the health space as well.
Thank you so much.
We're going to hear more of that conversation towards the end of the programme today. And online, you've got an extended version, 15 minutes of that.
Yes, the whole sit-down chat with her as well. But she's a fascinating lady. She was a TV journalist like us, worked at a news station in the US, then worked at Disney. Her mum got sick and she thought, I need to become a doctor. She wanted to feel as though she could be helpful. She trained to be a doctor. Now she works for Apple as VP of Health. Good. Fascinating woman. Let us know if you would wear a set of AirPods as a hearing aid. Is that something that you would do? Let us know. gbnews.com/you'll say. Is it the future? Tech and health coming together like that?
Right, still to come. Have a look at these gorgeous huskies. They competed for grand prize over the weekend. Paul Coit will be here to tell you all about that. Doggy.
That's so cute. That's next.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There are delays and some cancelled ScotRail train services this morning between Kilwinning and Ayr after electrical supply problems yesterday. On the M62 in North Yorkshire, 2 lanes are closed westbound at junction 34 for the A19 at Selby after an accident. Transport for Wales train services aren't running between Ebervale Town and Newport, where overnight engineering works have overrun. On the M25 in Essex, 3 out of 4 lanes are closed clockwise just after junction 29 for the A127 for emergency repairs. It's just the outside lane that's open with delays towards and past there. There are delays and cancellations to trains into and out of Waterloo Station in London through Wimbledon, where there's an operational incident. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking a quarter of an hour in queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks, and trains aren't running between Eastbourne and Lewis because of overrunning engineering work.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good result for Leeds last night. Really important result. They were 1-0 down against Sheffield United.
They will.
That's the story, mate.
Well, Eamonn Meslier, the Leeds goalkeeper. Oh, yeah, he's making a few clangers at the moment. He's a good goalkeeper, but he's, whether he's going to be the number one, should they actually manage to go up, which looks very likely. Push the ball in his own net. So anyway. It wasn't terribly good. But anyway, Leeds won 3-1, and they're looking very good for it. I mean, Daniel Farke, the Leeds manager, is a very happy Daniel, so everything's going very well with them. Chris Wilder, the Sheffield United manager, he's already been up in the Premier League with Sheffield United. So it looks like they probably should both go up, but certainly Leeds are the best bet at the moment. And the next 11 games they've got, 10 of them are in the bottom half. I mean, with the Championship, you never know what's going to happen. But they're looking good for it.
Happy times in Yorkshire, then.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all looking very good up in Yorkshire. By the way, you mentioned that you're talking about the Trump handshake with Macron.
Yeah, Macron.
I've had a similar situation with Ange Postecoglou, which is, when you shake hands, you must have had it where you just miss and go with the... It was in the tunnel, so Spurs were playing Man City. It was in the FA Cup last year. And as he went to walk through, I went to shake hands with him, and he looked the other way and missed. So I grabbed hold of that.
That wasn't an accident.
It was... Do you think so? Do you think he did it on purpose? Well, he was looking the other way, so I'm not speaking to you. But anyway, then I started getting messages going, oh, that was embarrassing, that was uncomfortable. And I go, what do you mean? How did you see that? So apparently it was live on ITV, and they had the camera straight down the tunnel, and as I'm going like that, it was all...
So what, you grabbed at his wrist?
Yeah, I missed. When he went like that, he was looking the other way, and I've missed and grabbed the arm, and it was just...
Embarrassing.
It was not nice. Yes, yeah.
Embarrassing. Right, now,
So
we
Macron, I
showed
know how
these
you feel.
huskies. We showed these huskies at the commercial break there. Tell us about these doggies.
OK, well, it's the... You know, I'm looking for very important sports. It's the British Siberian Husky Dog Championship. And this is it. It's in Thetford Forest in Norfolk. They travel around. Obviously, we don't have the snow for this. So off they go. Different classes. They have 3 dog classes, 16 rounds. You get 66 points for a win, 57 for second. And so it's exactly the same as you would get in Lapland, but without the snow.
Without the snow.
And apparently the Huskies have a lovely time, because if they didn't, then we wouldn't be
They really
talking
enjoy
about
it, don't they, the Huskies?
They enjoy it so much, they poo a lot.
Oh.
They run
Do
around
they?
there.
What is poo with excitement?
You're on a theme today.
I'm telling you fact, right? I've been pulled by huskies a number of times, right? And if you're behind them there, they get so excited, so poo comes out, and it goes in your direction, right? And unlike horse poo, which smells really nice, and cow poo, which isn't bad at all, dog poo is a horrible smelling thing.
Right, OK.
And so I'm just saying, if you're going to do that...
You have the little bags, catch them and throw them up in the trees.
Well,
that's the way around.
Degenerate into the ground and not have bags there.
OK, well... Were you on the snow, or you were on the...
I was on the snow.
Right, OK, so at least you could see it probably.
Come round to my house one night and I can show you all the pictures from the albums and bore you to...
I'd very much like to see that.
Yeah.
I thought for a moment you were going to...
can't smell it, but I can tell you it wasn't good.
Danny Mills, Leeds legend, and his son George, one of our finest middle-distance runners, both on together, coming up at 8:30.
Looking forward to that.
Stuff.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Coity. Still to come, we'll be going through the papers with Andy Williams and Susan Evans. But first, if you're in search of some winter sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're heading away for some winter sun through this week, there will be some fine weather around across parts of the Mediterranean, but currently around the eastern Med, it's still fairly unsettled. Some heavy rain, some strong winds, and temperatures well below average for the time of year, but these are gradually going to be lifting. Further west, a drier story across many parts of, well, France and Spain, but there is some wet weather starting to push its way in as we go later on this week. Otherwise, some decent sunshine on offer. See you later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Well, a new poll commissioned by Channel 4 shows that more than half of Gen Z believe that Britain should be ruled by a dictator. Seriously, they actually said that. Well, 1 in 3 would want an army. What's the army in charge? 1 in 3 want martial law.
There's something on the idea of some form of strong leadership. They have looked at British politics. They have looked at the politics in which they grow up in. And they see failures at the democratic level. They see a weak, a soft, a centre that doesn't do anything, makes promises and fails to deliver them. They see nothing actually happening. And they also see a future where they have no democratic engagement, because they're never going to have a house. They're never going to have a family. Why would they? Why would they be able to? So the idea of having somebody strong to come through and blow away the cobwebs of our current system, I can see that being attractive. When I grew up, I was talking to not that old men and women who had been through the war, who knew what dictatorship was. Up until the 70s, we were in the Cold War. People knew what dictatorship was. They knew people being locked up, being sent to Siberia. They knew what this meant. And I don't think anybody under the age of 34 actually has a clue. It's all the other side of the world. It's in North Korea, it's in China. It's not here, and it's not part of their lived experience. And that's a big change.
And I wonder, actually, Nigel, if a lot of these people think, I don't know, like Donald Trump's a dictator. He got elected with a huge mandate. Do they understand what dictators is? Or, actually, are young people just so listless? They're so feeble-minded, they need to be told what to do and how to live.
I certainly think that Gwen's right about there's a disillusionment with democracy and the results of it. The idea that a dictatorship is the answer to it, or having the military rule over us, is obvious nonsense.
GB News, the People's Channel.
GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Let's say hello, good morning, and welcome to political commentators Andy Williams and Suzanne Evans.
Morning.
Morning, you two. Suzanne, should we start with this footage that we've been talking about this morning of Trump and Macron, their bromance, their loving yesterday at the White House?
It was quite astonishing, wasn't it? I was watching the press conference, and it did make me laugh, though, how Trump was very succinct. And then Macron comes back with about 20 minutes of chat. But how interesting that they're so sort of chummy together. And I seem to remember before they once held hands like that and grasped each other and wouldn't let go. And I think there is a lot of body language here. It's about, I'm going to hold on to you. No, I'm holding on to you. I'm the guy who's in charge here. No, you're the guy I'm the guy who's in charge here. So, as you say, very much a bromance, but also something of a little bit of a power struggle.
It's not a bromance.
They're both almost trying
it's completely false, Suzanne.
Exactly. Yeah. A false bromance.
Yeah. Yes. And Macron, he goes down in my estimation because no one has the gumption to look disapprovingly at Trump at all.
Well, I think the thing is, isn't it, that Trump is almost a last hope. We've got this war now, the anniversary yesterday, 3 years since the invasion. Everybody expected it to be over very quickly. Everyone thought the sanctions that the West slammed on Russia were going to work. I think it was pretty clear from the start that they were not going to work, and they clearly haven't worked. Russia's economy is doing very well. The ruble was the best performing currency last year.
Okay,
so here we have Trump is the one that's going to try and
he's the one with the power.
There is that, but Trump didn't need to come in and say, well, Zelensky's a dictator. He didn't need to get the US to vote alongside North Korea, Israel, Hungary, Belarus, Sudan, and against a resolution that said that Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah, but
and he has created a narrative that says, is it as simple as that? Did Russia really start the war when we all know factually that they did?
Russia started the war, but the thing is, Trump's going into a negotiation, so he doesn't want to start a negotiation on the wrong foot by blaming one side or the other. Arguably, he's wrong, absolutely, about Putin, but he's also a very canny negotiator.
Yeah, and look, politics at this level is incredibly complex.
But Andy, Keir Starmer, who doesn't have a personality, really, but I'm being serious. This is going to be very interesting. You imagine Starmer in that situation. He's now got to follow Macron. So how pally does he become with Trump? I don't think he's got it in himself to do it, but he will be showing up as even more false if he does this bonhomie business.
He's going to have to walk a real tightrope on Thursday, and it's going to be incredibly difficult to walk out of that meeting unscathed, I think, because Trump holds all the cards, obviously. Starmer privately will be thinking, I cannot stand this man and I cannot stand what he stands for. And actually, to your point about his personality, and I think there are many good things about Keir Starmer. I think he's a man of integrity. I think he's a good man. But what he's not is a performer. No. And we saw that yesterday. Firstly, I understand that he's busy, but I think it's a shame he wasn't there in Kyiv round the table. He was doing it down the line, reading from an A4 piece of paper, literally phoning it in. And I thought that was a really poor display of statesmanship, actually.
Yeah, on the world stage. Yeah. The thing is, with the trip on Thursday, is he's not a tactile performer like President Macron. So even if they get away with the talk between the two of them, the first question from the journalist saying, do you agree with President Trump that Zelensky is a dictator, is all going to fall apart because it will be so apparent that the two are at odds.
Well, I think that's true. Actually, I can't remember who it was. One of the sketch writers in The Times made the point that when Macron found himself in difficulty yesterday, he switched to speaking French. And Starmer obviously won't have that tool in his armoury. No.
Suzanne, there's a story here about a teacher who's lost their job because of what? You tell us.
So it's a primary school teacher who was sacked after her pupil, who had English only as a second language, misunderstood a threat to whack him around the head. He didn't realise it was a joke. And so the teacher, who, judging by his name, is himself not originally from England, or his family wasn't anyway, and had got more than 35 experience, got dismissed. This was an employment tribunal that made the decision. I think we've got another case here of activist judges, I'm afraid, who are making decisions that are not in the best interests of the students in this case. A teacher of that long experience, we know we're short of teachers. We're particularly short of male teachers. And here we are, another one is gone from arguably a trivial matter that I think the child should have been told to get over. Look, he didn't mean it. He made a mistake. It wasn't a
Well, I'm from an era where they didn't joke about it. They just did it. They whacked you and they did everything. We got lifted up by our locks. By, so they'd grab you here.
Pull you by your hair?
Yeah, do you want me to do it to you? They lifted you up like that.
Oh, no.
And then they threw the duster at you.
I certainly remember that happening in the classroom. The old blackboard, some people won't remember blackboards watching this.
Gosh, well, thank goodness we've moved on for that. But I think what's concerning about this is that we're having enough trouble persuading people to go into teaching anyway, so this can't help.
OK, going to have you two back in about 40 minutes' time. For the moment, thank you very much indeed. We say good morning to Alex Burkle with the weather forecast.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Plenty of sunny spells on offer today, but also plenty of showers. And some of these could be a bit heavy with the risk of a little bit of hail and some thunder too. Through this morning, the showers are most frequent across northwestern parts. But as we go through the day and into the afternoon, they are going to become a bit more widespread, spreading across many parts, though towards the southeast, largely avoiding them here. Like I said, some of the showers could be on the heavy side and there could be a bit of hail and thunder mixed in with them as well. Temperatures are around or a touch above average for the time of year. Many places towards the south getting into double figures, highs of around 11 or 12 Celsius. More showers to come as we go towards the end of the day, but like I said, fewer showers towards the southeast of the UK, so a largely dry evening here with some clear spells, perhaps a greater chance of a few scattered showers across more western parts of England and Wales. Plenty of showers still to end the day across Northern Ireland and much of Scotland too, especially towards the west. Some of them here still on the heavy side, and there could be a bit of winteriness, perhaps a little bit of sleet or snow over the highest ground. But as we go overnight, we are going to see most of those showers clearing away, and we are going to have largely clear skies, particularly towards the east, clinging onto those clear skies. Meanwhile, further west, the cloud is going to build. We're going to have some rain pushing in and some strengthening winds too. Where that happens, temperatures are going to pick up as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning, but in the east, it is going to stay quite chilly. There could be a touch of frost in some places, also some mist and fog patches as well. That wet weather in the west does spread its way east and southeastwards as we go through Wednesday. There's likely to be a bit of sleet and snow over the higher ground of the hills, and there could even be some rumbles of thunder as that rain pushes through. There will be some brighter weather ahead and behind the rain, but also plenty of showers feeding in through the afternoon too, and temperatures down a nudge compared to today. Bye-bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There are delays and cancellations to trains again this morning between Kilwinning and Ayr after electrical supply problems yesterday. On the M62 in North Yorkshire, 2 lanes are closed westbound at junction 34 at Selby after an accident. In Lincolnshire, the A1101 is blocked by an accident at Long Sutton. In Leicestershire, the A426 is partly blocked by an accident on Rugby Road at Coatesback. Trains aren't running between Ebervale Town and Cardiff Central because of overrunning engineering works. On the M25 in Kent, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed clockwise between junctions 4 and 5 from Orpington to the A21 after an accident. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour in queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks, and train services are suspended between Eastbourne and Lewis, and that is because of overrunning engineering work. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
There's just 2 weeks left to grab your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British giveaway. First, you'll win a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash to spend however you like. You'll also receive the very latest iPhone 16 and we'll send you on a shopping spree with £500 to spend in your favourite store. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. A blow to households as energy bills are set to rise.
We'll tell you in just a few moments what they have risen to. Watchdog Ofgem will announce the new energy price cap.
And despite the government blaming soaring prices on the gas market, new analysis for GB News shows the biggest culprit is actually the explosion in subsidies for renewable energy and net zero policies.
Yes, Ofgem expected to announce yet another energy price rise, 5% this time. Alongside water bills and your council tax bill, cost of living is getting even steeper.
Farmers are still fighting as the NFU conference takes place today. The government's being urged to reset its relationship with agricultural workers after months of protest.
New powers for police. In one of the biggest updates for decades, officers could search for stolen goods without a warrant.
A change for Ukraine. A spokesperson for Downing Street has said President Trump's influence on the global conversation around the conflict has been for the better.
Romance or rivalry? The French President Emmanuel Macron becomes the first European leader to meet President Trump at the White House. But it's their awkward handshake that's gone viral.
I said, that's not what we said. He's a smart customer, I will tell you that. Sure.
Could your phone be the secret to keeping healthy? Apple thinks so. We have an exclusive interview with the tech giant about how they're planning to revolutionise hearing aids for everyone.
Hearing is your connection to the world. It's how you communicate. It's how you build relationships. It's it's core to your social being.
As almost a third of children have refused to go to school at least once in the past year, we're asking, should there be harsher penalties for skipping school?
And as portraits of our great political leaders have been removed from Downing Street since Labour took to office, we're asking, is Britain ashamed of its past?
And in sport, well, Leeds United looking more and more likely for a return to the Premier League as they beat second-place Yorkshire rivals Sheffield United 3-1 last night. More Premier League games tonight, and can Manchester United save any more money?
We have sunshine and showers today, and then a spell of more persistent rain arriving tomorrow. For more details on this, stick around as I'll have the info coming up.
Hello there, very good morning. Good to see you on this Tuesday morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. Breaking news now from the energy regulator Ofgem. The average annual energy bill will increase to £1,849 from April. That's the third consecutive rise to the energy price cap. That new figure represents a 6.4% a year increase in the typical sum that most households are going to pay for gas and electricity. Well, Fraser Myers is with us now, the deputy editor of Spiked Online. Fraser, what do you make of these figures?
Well, this is going to deal a huge blow to people's household finances. It's actually larger than we were anticipating. Most analysts were predicting 5%, which would have been damaging enough. And this comes amid other price rises, council tax, other forms of taxes. People are being badly squeezed. Now, energy doesn't just affect consumers, of course, it affects the broader economy. This is going to be a big drag on growth. This is obviously on top of everything else. So obviously the price cap is for households, but Britain is currently paying the highest energy prices in Europe for our industry. That is dragging down growth. That is causing manufacturing firms to close and shut up shop. We've seen car factories, van factories, steel works, oil refineries all closing down mostly because of these ludicrous net zero policies that the government is determined to pursue.
So what are you suggesting, Fraser? You've seen the problems, you've seen why it's happening, you've told us why it's happening, mainly because of these net zero policies. What do you think the solution is? Is it too late to turn back?
No, it's not too late to turn back. The solution is to net zero, or climate change is not unimportant, but it can't be the main priority of energy policy. So for 10 years we've prioritised renewables when really we still need to be using fossil fuels, using oil and gas. We have many resources of things in the UK.
Do both things? Do you think that we can reduce our dependency on fossil fuels but still be in favour of the consumer?
Yes, the solution to that actually is through nuclear energy, which governments have also neglected. Now, that's totally carbon-free, but that's slightly in the longer run. It takes a lot longer to build nuclear power plants. But we do have oil and gas reserves in the UK. We have plenty in the North Sea that, Ed Miliband has said he's not going to go after. The ban on fracking as well means that we've just discovered a gas field in Lincolnshire that could be accessed through fracking that would power the UK for the next 10 years. These opportunities are being neglected by the government in the pursuit of net zero. It doesn't need to do that. There's also, the danger is that there are other rises coming down the track. So people might not have seen this, but in the Brexit deal, the government's determination to get us closer to Europe could also push up energy prices. We're going to be signed up to the European carbon trading scheme. In Europe, they're worried that this is going to push up prices. In Britain, that's not part of the conversation. So there are many dangers coming down the track. The government is going in the wrong direction on almost every front.
So we've just heard that third successive increase in energy bills. Who is this going to impact the most? Talking about things coming down the track, the national insurance rise. So businesses are going to be impacted by this energy price rise. And, of course, pensioners without their winter fuel allowance.
Pensioners who've had the winter fuel allowance taken away from them, particularly the poorest pensioners, who that's going to affect most. I mean, of course, there were many pensioners who maybe didn't necessarily need that, but still it was a good policy. It was a policy that ensured that people didn't have to fill out ridiculous forms in order to get the money that they're entitled to. I think, this is obviously going to be affecting poorer households more. They spend more on energy or more proportionally on energy. And we don't want people to be freezing in the winter. We're having cold winters. This is a particularly cold and bitter winter.
Freezing and blooming poor.
Yeah. And people are, making choices between heating and eating. This is not where we should be in the 21st century. We should have abundant energy. We should have low energy bills. All of this is possible. It will take a while, but it's not something that the government seems interested in pursuing. It promised us energy bills would come down by £300.
Yeah.
We know the opposite is now happening, and a lot of it is a direct result of the government's policies, but also previous governments. They haven't changed strategy.
Just want to bring you some reaction from some charities here and campaign groups already worrying about next winter and the impact that it's going to have on people struggling to pay their bills, suggesting that the government steps in to support those groups. But how can they do that? They'd have to reinstate winter fuel allowance, would they not?
That would be the most logical way to support people, because, you know, then it goes to all old age pensioners who are the most in need. They're people who, you know, are put at genuine risk if they're cold. It's a risk to their life if they are cold at winter, in the same way it's not perhaps as risky for other people. That seems like the most obvious solution. You do wonder whether they will have to cook up some scheme to backpedal that isn't called winter fuel allowance, give it some other name so they don't look, so it doesn't look like a U-turn. But surely it's not sustainable, this policy.
OK. Fraser, appreciate your input, your take, have your say. Read what Fraser's having to say, and we'll reflect that on the programme. Let's go to Adam Cherry. He'll fill us in more. Adam, where are you this morning and why?
Morning, I'm in Redruth in Cornwall, which is a town like all the others in this country. Millions of households waking up this morning to the news that it's going to cost them more to light their homes and to keep them warm. You're just talking to Fraser there. This is a higher than expected increase from Ofgem. We were expecting 5%. That's what the analysis was suggesting. Actually, it's 6.4, so it's even worse. It's worth reminding you where we were 10 years ago and how badly it's gotten in that decade since. So the electricity price gap in 2015 was £664. That's just electricity. 50% increase, £330 over the last decade. And warm this winter's analysis, which will now have to be revised because they were assuming it would be a 5% increase in total. It's now more than that. We're saying the average household is likely to pay around £750 more per year for their energy compared to 2020 and 2021, which is a 75% increase. As I say, it'll be even worse than that now that we've just had the latest figures. We are going to hear from the Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, shortly. Of course, Labour were promising during the general election campaign that they would lower energy bills by as much as £300. Well, that's not happening. Don't forget, again, you also mentioned this with Fraser, that your council tax bill and your water bill is also going up. So the cost of living is going up steeply and people are feeling the squeeze. I'm going to be talking to people around here today about that, how they feel about that, particularly, as you said, about the net zero policies and the subsidies that are fueling this increase. Are people buying it? Are people happy to keep that going, given how much it's affecting their wallets? Again, as well, given that the winter fuel allowance has also been removed for the poorest and for pensioners.
Yeah, really interested to hear what people in Cornwall think about this. Adam, thank you so much.
Yeah. So much news coming in today, and another story about a foreigner who's not being deported, and Kemi Badenoch is going to take this one up. This is a burglar. This is a violent burglar, and he has been kept in this country and not sent back to Albania because he says it would breach his right to a family life. You know, it's interesting that these people can disrupt other people's families and create lots of problems for people, and yet as soon as the clock goes against them, it is a problem again. Have your say, let us know. Now, this is very interesting what we've got for you, and Miss Ellie will explain.
Yes, hearing loss. It impacts 8 million people in the UK. Only 2 million people actually wear devices in order to help it, such as a hearing aid, for example.
There's a stigma, isn't there?
There's a stigma associated with wearing big hearing aids. So Apple are trying to fix that. And there's people damaging their hearing all the time with loud music, commuting to work. I mean, the tube and the buses, they're really, really loud. Even going to the local pub, it all damages our hearing, and life does seem to be getting noisier than ever. So yesterday, I went to Apple headquarters in London, where they are hoping to use these Apple AirPods to create a hearing aid device, a modern version, if you will. I spoke to the Vice President of Health, the inspiring Dr. Desai.
You know, hearing loss really affects so many because it's your connection to the world, it's your connection to each other. And, you know, the feature is really geared towards those who have mild to moderate hearing loss. And the numbers that you just cited are very consistent with what we saw in one of our studies as well, in the Apple hearing study, that about 75% of people who actually could benefit from assistive devices don't use them. And obviously that's for a number of reasons, whether it's stigma or comfort or just getting over that hump to get to the doctor to get it looked at. And so we're very excited about the potential of the impact this can have, knowing that hearing loss, is one of the reasons people start having social isolation, depression, but also it's a modifiable risk factor for dementia. So we're hopeful that this will be impactful in many ways.
So
Well,
this
I
is
heard all of that.
This is what they look like. The AirPods Pro 2. And the way it would work is on your iPhone, you take a hearing aid test, a bit like how you described that you did a few years ago. They play lots of sounds and you tap when you can hear them on your phone. And then it creates a graph for you. It tells you what you are and aren't able to hear.
Yeah.
And then it automatically adapts to your AirPods. So it acts as a hearing aid.
And this is not just about hearing. Hearing's very, very important. But if you have not got good hearing and you're filling in the gaps, this is affecting your mental capabilities, and it relates to dementia, and Alzheimer's and all sorts of things in later life. And a full interview with the good doctor there is on our website, gbnews.com. So there's, 15 or 20 minutes of you and her?
Yeah, 15 minutes set down with Dr. Desai, yes. Loads of you getting in touch this morning. Angela says, my Apple Watch detected that I had a nasty fall on the ice and it started phoning the emergency services for me. And
But she hadn't. Had she?
Yeah, she had a nasty fall on the ice, and it knows that you've had a fall and it calls the emergency services for you. But this is what is so good about the technological age that we're living in, where health and tech can come together to hopefully help us.
If phones for an ambulance, does an ambulance turn up?
Well, I hope so. Angela, you have to finish that story for us. Let us know if the ambulance did show up. Margaret says, yes, yes, yes. I don't understand AirPods, but at 83 years old, I'm unable to use conventional hearing aids. These could be a whole new life for me. I follow with interest. And Johnny says he's a retired engineer. He suffers with high-tone hearing loss due to low-frequency damage. I can hear the volume, but I can't separate the sounds in a crowded room. I've brought some AirPods and I will use them in conversations with multiple people. The difference is amazing. I can actually take part. And that's the sociability that you're talking about.
Well, I'm not really... There's lots of things I'm not aware of, but anybody who knows me will say, turn that TV down, will you? I'm not aware the TV's up
do you
very
listen to it
high.
really loud?
Well, I listen to it. It's at 70 volume.
That is very loud.
Is it? What do you listen to? 35 or something?
Yeah, 30. I like to be on a nice even number.
Don't come round to my house then.
Oh dear. Yeah. Anyway, let us know what you think about that. Would you use AirPods? Woo! We've got a flying AirPod in the studio now. Would you wear an AirPod instead of a hearing aid? Is that something that would...
Well, they become one and the same thing.
Yeah.
But,
would you use it as your hearing aid? Let us know.
Yeah. Right, I'll tell you what we'll do now. We'll go to Alex Burkle with the weather, and the situation today, certainly in the London area, was heavy rain this morning.
Wet.
There was a bit of wind. It was dark. It was dreary. It was pretty awful. How long is it going to last for? Let's go to Alex.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Plenty of sunny spells on offer today, but also plenty of showers. And some of these could be a bit heavy with the risk of a little bit of hail and some thunder too. Through this morning, the showers are most frequent across northwestern parts. But as we go through the day and into the afternoon, they are going to become a bit more widespread, spreading across many parts, though towards the southeast, largely avoiding them here. Like I said, some of the showers could be on the heavy side and there could be a bit of hail and thunder mixed in with them as well. Temperatures are around or a touch above average for the time of year. Many places towards the south getting into double figures, highs of around 11 or 12 Celsius. More showers to come as we go towards the end of the day, but like I said, fewer showers towards the southeast of the UK, so a largely dry evening here with some clear spells, perhaps a greater chance of a few scattered showers across more western parts of England and Wales. Plenty of showers still to end the day across Northern Ireland and much of Scotland too, especially towards the west. Some of them here still on the heavy side, and there could be a bit of winteriness, perhaps a little bit of sleet or snow over the highest ground. But as we go overnight, we are going to see most of those showers clearing away, and we are going to have largely clear skies, particularly towards the east, clinging onto those clear skies. Meanwhile, further west, the cloud is going to build. We're going to have some rain pushing in and some strengthening winds too. Where that happens, temperatures are going to pick up as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning, but in the east, it is going to stay quite chilly. There could be a touch of frost in some places, also some mist and fog patches as well. That wet weather in the west does spread its way east and southeastwards as we go through Wednesday. Wednesday. There's likely to be a bit of sleet and snow over the higher ground of the hills, and there could even be some rumbles of thunder as that rain pushes through. There will be some brighter weather ahead and behind the rain, but also plenty of showers feeding in through the afternoon too, and temperatures down a nudge compared to today. Bye-bye.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now,
Yeah. Sorry. I thought you said to me.
I said, do you want me to do this one, Eamonn?
No, I thought you said, do you want to do this? And give me an iPod to get that.
You need one of these.
Yeah.
Now it's time for the Great British Giveaway. If you want to be one of our 2 new winners, each with a new iPhone, shopping vouchers and £10,000 in tax-free cash, here are all of the details that you need.
Don't miss your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British Giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on the 7th of March. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. 1 entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Do stay with us. Still to come, should there be harsher penalties for skipping school? We'll be debating that next.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, joining us in the studio now is Chia Eaglin and Erin Cobb from Clark's Farm Greyhound Rescue, who have brought along 2 very special guests. This is Duchess.
So Duchess
and
is the one I'm stroking. This is Duchess, isn't it? Our lady joining us this morning, and then over there is Vieira.
Vieira's a chap, isn't he? And Duchess is a lady. So,
talk to us about their history. Now, they used to be racing dogs, didn't they? But now they're looking for a home.
Yeah, so both of these dogs were racing greyhounds. They have retired recently. So now we are getting them ready and prepared to go into a forever home, essentially.
So anyone watching, make sure you get on the Clark's Farm website later on today, because these guys are up for adoption. And I mean,
and they are very cute.
Look how well behaved they are as well. They were a little bit excited when they came in because it's their first time on TV, and they wanted to make a good impression.
They did.
Now they're both looking, aren't they? They know what's up on the offer here. Now, talk to us about greyhounds as a breed. If anyone was going to adopt a greyhound, what would they expect?
I'd say the first thing is couch potatoes. They are the most lazy dog ever.
Really? You wouldn't expect that because of the background?
Everyone has this massive misconception that they need loads of exercise, loads of walks, but they are actually, quite happy with 2 20-minute walks a day. They are so laid back.
Yeah.
Easy.
That's
long as they're able to have their moments of madness, zoomies, they do get the sillies, of course. But once they've had that, they are so happy to just chill out on the sofa with you. Usually,
they've all got different personalities, and it's just great to see. Even though some of them,
Duchess is perched on the back of your head.
Duchess is going to fall asleep. You're on TV, Duchess.
She's watching.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's tonight, and here
We do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I can't believe that we're making this next item a matter of normality. We're asking, can we change the culture in this country to make attending school a normal thing? I'll just repeat that. Make attending school a normal thing. You know, what, I mean, you had two parents as teachers, for instance. How normal was attending school for you?
I attended school every day, as did they.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, a poll has found that has changed because nearly a third of children have refused to go to school multiple times in the past year. How would that have gone down in your house if you'd have refused to go to school?
Are you kidding me? You wouldn't have had the refused. No, Mummy and Daddy, I'm not going today. That's okay, young Eamonn, that's fine. You look after yourself, whatever. What a lot of nonsense. What is it with parents these days? What is it? Have the parents changed? Have the kids changed? Honestly.
Is it gentle parenting?
Well, a whack round the ear would sort it out. See how gentle that is. I mean, this is really almost a third of children in the country have refused to go to school, refused at least once in the past year. Now, I'm not saying I didn't feign sickness every now and again, but I wouldn't have beaked. What word would have been used in your day for missing school? Beaking school, hiking off school, bunking, mitching.
Truancy.
No one says truancy.
That's what it would have been called in school, though.
Well,
Skiving.
Yeah, we would have called it something different. Anyway, Mr. Do-Goody at school, he is. And if he was my teacher, I would go. I would have no worries about anything. Bobby Seagull joins us now, and Isha Ali Khan about all of this. Oh, Bobby, I think I've got to go to you first, mate, to really try and discover what the mood is. I understand people having a problem with school and not wanting to go. I understand that. But how normal is this? I mean, it was an abnormal thing in my day. How normal is it today?
Sadly, school absence is something that more and more teachers, heads of years, head teachers have to consider when they're trying to think about school strategies and how to improve performance. Because ultimately, as an educator, as parents, the reason why we're so insistent on attendance is ultimately the higher the attendance, the more likely children are to do well academically, and that boosts their life chances. So we as teachers and parents, we want children to have their best chance in life. But if you look at this survey here, and it's been conducted with, I think, 2,000 families, what they found is that the number one reason for children saying they don't want to go to school is that they're not enjoying school. And that's really sad for me. One is like, children, I think they should enjoy school. But secondly, things can get tough. And if you're not enjoying it, you should carry on and persist, not just miss school. And there are serious reasons I've seen in the report. I think like 8% of children said bullying. Of course, for those reasons, school should deal with that harshly and separately on the bullies, etc. But if you're missing school because you're not enjoying it, I think that's not acceptable. You can't just say school is optional. And I think what's happened, Eamonn and Ellie, is that in COVID, children have seen the relationship between schools and students change. Whereas it used to be compulsory, you go to school every day. Now it's seen as, oh, I don't feel like it, or maybe I might have a working from home day. So I think the culture's changed where parents, maybe slightly, are also guilty of encouraging children to think, actually, you can skip school if you're not feeling it.
Aisha Ali Khan, what do you think? What's going on?
Morning, Ellie. Morning, everybody. I agree. Absolutely. There's been a massive shift in attitudes towards attending. And like Eamonn said, we never got a choice. We had to go to school. My mum was a school teacher, and there was absolutely no way we could even pretend to be unwell. Even, it was like, no, tough, you're going whether you like it or not. But what I've seen I've been a teacher for 20 years this year, is that a lot of parents, a lot of children have struggled, and you guys mentioned COVID, and I do think that has played a massive part. And I've worked in special provisions. I've worked one-to-one with children. I've actually travelled to the homes of children who've been persistently absent from school and delivered one-to-one lessons with them. And what I have found is that there are some real issues, and the report picks up on this, mental health issues, children being bullied both physically and online. When they've said we don't enjoy school, there's always been some kind of issue around lessons. Some schools are adopting the 100-minute lessons, which is 1 hour 40 minutes, which is, as we know, is quite, for some children, it's far too long, the school structure, and also, in a separate report I read, that the fact that parents themselves are working from home, the fact that they've changed their lifestyles and their working routines, and that's showing children, well, actually, if mum and dad can stay at home, well, so can we. But I do feel that one of the reasons cited was the lack of provision for SEN children within schools, and I have seen this consistently throughout my teaching career, and we've seen a massive increase in children being diagnosed with all sorts of conditions like ADHD and Asperger's and so on.
I can't have this.
The schools don't have those provisions in place.
Do you know, I really can't have this, because when I think of school, I even enjoyed the unenjoyable bits. You know, you would come and you would, oh, we're going to have class with so-and-so today, and you would have been quite frightened of some of the teachers that you had, and you were really rubbish at the subject or whatever it happens to be. Maybe you were going to get shouted at or whatever it happens to be. I mean, I remember being in art class once and painting a picture, and whatever way I'd done it late the night before, and it hadn't dried.
Aww.
And the teacher walked down, and they wore capes and things, and he just lifted it and he just rubbed it all over my hair and face. So he did. And look, you see, the thing is, Bobby, I'm talking about something which they'd probably bring the police in on a case like that nowadays. But what I'm trying to say is, however awful that was, you were able to laugh at it. You were able to come away and say, and you never guess what he did, and look at the state of me, and whatever. You didn't go back to your mum and dad and say, turn up at school and protest naked outside the gates, tie yourself to the gates.
I don't think anybody's done that. I don't think anybody's advocated protesting naked outside schools. Yes, there have been protests, rightly or wrongly, but yeah, sorry, Bobby, I've cut into your segment.
Well, I'm afraid the two of you, we're out of time. But thank you so much for your time this morning. That's Bobby Seagull and Aisha Ali Khan there for us. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say. Have we got too soft on skipping school?
Right, best years of your life or not?
School? I loved school.
I loved school too.
Yeah, so did you.
Even though there was so much bad about it, it set me up. Going to the secondary school I went to made me the person I am today.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Is because of St Malachy's College.
Yeah.
And that was that. Anyway, back after this, we've got Victoria Atkins, politician, after this.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M8 in Renfrewshire is partly blocked eastbound by an accident between junctions 27 and 26 from Paisley to Hillington, causing queues. Buses replace trains between Kilwinning and Ayr, with delays of up to 20 minutes between Kilwinning and both Largs and Ardrossan Harbour after electrical supply problems yesterday. On the M62 in North Yorkshire, 2 lanes are closed westbound at junction 34 at Selby after an accident causing queues. In Lincolnshire, the A1101 is blocked by an accident on Wisbeach Road at Long Sutton. Trains have been stopped between Treherbert and Pontypridd because of a points failure. There are delays and cancellations to trains into and out of Waterloo Station in London through Wimbledon because of an operational incident. And on the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour in westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30am.
Only on GB News.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 7:33. We're joined now by Shadow Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, Victoria Atkins. Good to see you this morning, Ms Atkins. Can I start by asking you about the energy price cap going to increase by 6.4%, higher than predicted, to £1,849 from April. That's for a typical household. What's your response to that?
Well, this will be a blow to households across the country. And of course, it's the third consecutive price rise that we will see under this Labour government. Let's not forget, during the general election campaign, they promised to cut our bills by up to £300 over the course of this Parliament. This is yet another promise that they have broken, because they made promises at the election that they seemingly had no intention or way of delivering now they're in government.
Your answer to the energy crisis then, and indeed saving the planet?
Well, we believe, first of all, that we can have a secure energy supply, but we've got to do it in a way that reflects our countryside and our populations. So these plans for plaguing our prime agricultural land with solar farms, with wind farms, this goes against not just energy security but also food security, which obviously as DEFRA Shadow Secretary I'm particularly focused on today of all days, when the NFU has come to London to have its conference and to listen to City Steve Reed about his plans for farming. But what we need to see is a careful and thought through plan for energy. And my worry is at the moment we just have lots of plans from Ed Miliband to plaster our countryside with these renewable energies, whilst at the same time closing our oil fields in the North Sea, which has a huge impact, of course, on each and every one of us. And at the back of our minds as well, we will be remembering that terrible impact of the winter fuel payment being slashed for the most vulnerable pensioners in our society. This winter alone, in my own very rural constituency, where not everybody is on the grid, a lot of us have to fill up our oil tanks, that £300 would have helped people heat their homes this winter, and yet Labour has removed that from some of our most vulnerable pensioners.
But they've removed it from those people, they've removed it from city dwellers, they've removed it from rural country dwellers as well. Who's listening to the farmers? Because, you know, a lot of people, there's a lot of public sympathy and empathy for what they do and what they have to do for the country. But come on, whether it's you or whether it is Labour, you had a chance to do more for them. You just didn't do more for them. We're in the situation that we're in. I wouldn't be a farmer. Would you be a farmer?
Well, if I may, Eamonn, just pick you up on one point. Even though we inherited the disastrous economic mess that Labour left us in 2010. If you remember, the deficit was double what it is today. We had inflation higher than when we left it to Labour in July last year. We had growth and so on in a far, far worse state than we left to Labour in July. Nonetheless, the one thing we did not do was touch APR and BPR, because we understood as a Conservative government who had introduced it in the 1990s that spirit of entrepreneurship, that spirit of custodianship, not just for family farms but for all family businesses, that had to be supported and encouraged by government. Instead, this Labour government have ripped the rug out from farmers and family businesses' feet by imposing this family farm tax, this death tax on family businesses, which means that in a meeting that I called yesterday with the three main farming organisations, they were telling me very clearly that it is having a huge impact on their members' plans for the future. People are stopping investing in agricultural machinery and buildings and so on, because what's the point? Rachel Reeves is just going to take it from them. But also the horrible human cost that this policy is already having. There are genuinely conversations happening across kitchen tables up and down the country where people are asking whether their family can afford for them to continue living after April 2026, when this horrible policy comes in. We as Conservatives have promised that when we're back in government, we will reverse this terrible, terrible tax, because we understand and we care about the terrible impact it's having on our countryside and on our family businesses.
OK, Victoria Atkins, we're out of time with you, I'm afraid, but thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, Mr. Paul Coit. Paul, football last night, football tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk more about Sheffield United and Leeds. Danny Mills, ex-Leeds player, is going to be with us very shortly. And his son, who won the 3,000 metres of the British Indoor Championship at the weekend, George. So it's father and son. I was looking through famous parents and kids who have both participated in different sports and been professionals. And I've got to tell you, I'm coming up empty with this. I don't know if anybody will remember anything, but it's really difficult to actually find any. But anyway, they're going to join us later. Tonight, there's Premier League football. Brighton are playing Bournemouth, so 9th against 6th. You've got Crystal Palace against Villa, Wolves against Fulham. Chelsea will play bottom club Southampton tonight at Stamford Bridge. So Chelsea are having a little bit of a wobble. So who do you want to play when things are going bad? The team that's only won 2 games. So that's tonight. The other story, Manchester United. Now, this is a story, really, it's a business thing. It's more stories about more people being made redundant at Manchester United, another 200 being made. Now, a lot of people would look at that and just think, well, how can there be so much money? And when you can spend £1 million a month on a player, but it's very difficult to try and marry the two, because what I do understand, and I think probably you will as well, is that it's got to run as a business, yes, but then you can't then say to the players, well, actually, we're not going to pay you this much, because that is the market value of professional footballers.
And that's what they're getting paid at Man City or Liverpool.
Exactly.
Or Chelsea or whatever.
The first thing anybody goes, free lunches are going. Well, there's a lot of workplaces where you're not going to get a free lunch. Yes, they happen to have got that at Manchester United, but that's not going to happen anymore. And then 3 weeks' wages of, 3 weeks of Casemiro could pay for everything, but that's market value.
And he's tied into a contract.
It's uncomfortable viewing, it is, but unfortunately that seems to be the way it is.
It leads to the question, did Ratcliffe pay too much for what he got from the Glazers?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's also what he was prepared. You're not going to tell me that he's going to look back and think, well, I wasn't aware, because you can see what sort of a businessman Jim Ratcliffe is. He's a smart cookie. He knows what's going on. He knows what he was happy to pay. But they're trying to make it profitable, which it's not at the moment.
If the Glazers had sold to the Saudis on this, you wouldn't be in this position.
You'd have free breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Bottomless pit. The thing is, though, politically or religiously or something, they, as Jewish people, did not want to sell to the Arabs.
It's but it seemed a good idea when you've got someone like Jim Ratcliffe, and for fans as well, you would think, oh, he's a Manchester United. There's that romantic thing about someone who's British who's British and a Manchester United fan. That kind of fits better. But anyway, there's a lot of cuts being made because he's running it as a business, not just the way football clubs are always run.
Should we have a quick look at the boxing?
Oh, you know what? I really want to show you something else.
Okay.
Let's have a little look at this. Shelley Ann Fraser-Price. I'll tell you a little bit about her before I show you the race. She's spoken about one of her biggest races. 2 2 weeks before the race, her rival started sending pictures of her working out. Shelley said, I was like, you can't be serious, girl. When you got to the race, she started giving me the eyes, trying to psych me out. The race was the primary school mum's race. So what do? You're a 3-time gold medalist.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you take it easy or do you go for it? What would you do?
I don't think you can help yourself. You'd have to go for it.
Let's see what happened. This was a couple of months ago. So here we are, Shelley-Ann Fraser-Pryce, one of the fastest women on the planet. Oh, look at that. She's finished before the rest of them have even got off the blocks.
Yeah.
I just wonder if she celebrated giving it all the big one to them afterwards. But, you know, she said afterwards, what am I supposed to do?
Look at the distance. Yeah.
Well,
maybe whoever came second should be regarded as the people's champion.
I think the people's champion. Yeah, I think so.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. We'll leave it there. Thank you
Thanks,
very much
Whitey.
indeed. We'll take a break. We're back with the newspapers right after this, and here's your weather hotspots around Europe.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're heading away for some winter sun through this week, there will be some fine weather around across parts of the Mediterranean, but currently around the eastern Med it's still fairly unsettled. Some heavy rain, some strong winds and temperatures well below average for the time of year, but these are gradually going to be lifting. Further west, a drier story across many parts of, well, France and Spain, but there is some wet weather starting to push its way in as we go later on this week. Otherwise, some decent sunshine on offer. See you later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
As we kick off 2025, many of us might be thinking about a bit of a wardrobe refresh, especially if you're over 50 and you feel like the high street doesn't quite cater to you.
Indeed. That's where our next guest, Mel Tillett, comes in. She's in the studio with us now.
Mel, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. That you are this accidental influencer. I love that you said that's the first time.
Yeah, it is. That's the first time I've heard it.
You can have that
yes,
for free on
thank
TV.
you so much. It's quite true.
Tell us about your following. Obviously, an influencer that many people might typically think of would be someone in their teens, someone in their 20s, someone who's particularly social media savvy, using TikTok. Talk to us about your brand of influencer.
Well, our influencer, my kind of influence is over the older age group, the over 50s. For my business, I do a lot of live videos. I do them early in the morning at 7:30, which sounds ridiculous, but I know my ladies are up and about at that time having a cup of coffee or whatever that might be. And just being honest about day-to-day life. So my dogs are running about, my grandchildren are even sometimes in them, one thing and another. So it's just been purely by accident that I've got this really nice, loyal following and I get lovely messages off ladies. I'll do things like, I'll tell them when I'm going for a mammogram and I'll say, come on, everybody go for your mammogram.
That's brilliant.
All sort of health-conscious things. I've been a lot heavier than I am now, and I've slimmed down and lost some weight. I've been talking about that journey as well. And then ladies will ask me questions on the videos, and we chat about all sorts of different things. And now I'm getting messages every day, and people are loving the clothing ranges that we do. And it's just, I started off as a business, that's purely what I did, but it's turned out into this other... I get recognised places I go now, which is really weird.
It must be of huge benefit to your business as well.
We employ around about 50 people.
Wow.
And I'm quite open to my audience and saying, you know, while you keep buying offers, while you're loving our products and our clothing, you're keeping 50 people in jobs.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
delighted to welcome back And I think, Suzanne, the first thing we'll do is get straight into this energy price cap, and it's £111, they reckon, on average, is the price jump in energy bills.
Yeah, so from April the 1st till June the 30th this year, the average cost of your energy, that's based on a dual fuel electricity gas bill, is going to go up to £1,849. Obviously, if you're electricity only, your bill's going to be even higher than that. A shocking failure, I think, of Ofgem. Let's not forget, Ofgem, the regulator, was set up in 2000 to protect consumers' interests and to cut prices. It's gone up and up and up. In my view, they've completely failed.
Well, it's like the water regulator, whatever. They're there to protect the interests of the companies, it seems, not the consumers.
I think so. You know, also, sorry, Ed Miliband promised Labour Party manifesto, we're going to cut your energy bills by £300. Clearly, that's not happened.
But we've got to ask the question, what planet does he live on? Now, I know he's worried about our planet and it coming to an end and whatever, but, you know, who does he represent?
Well, his policies, his ideas, you know, there's £21 billion for his carbon capture and storage programme, which is completely unproven. You know, let's not forget, 12% of these bills that people are going to have to pay, people who are really struggling, pensioners who've had the winter fuel allowance stripped for them, 12% of what they pay is going on green taxes to fuel Ed Miliband's crackpot ideas. More if you're paying, again, electric only, 25%. So we're looking now, £233 of your money on your bills every year, on average, is going to go into these green taxes, supporting energy companies engaged in renewable energy who are wealthy enough as it is. And if they can't survive without taxpayer support, why on earth are they in existence?
And Andy, we're inundated here with stories of people who just can't pay their bills, and we talk about the right to family life, the way asylum seekers talk about their right to family life, and people think they're being robbed of this. And we're going to go into these more detail after 8 o'clock today. But people they just don't know where they're going to be hit next. They don't have any money and now they've less.
I know, and I think successive governments have failed to protect the people who really need protecting. And instead what we've had are really crude, broad brushstrokes approach to supporting people with energy bills. I mean, remember Liz Truss's energy price guarantee, where we all got 66 quid a month for 6 months when there was that the real peak of that spike. That cost £23 billion. That's like 4 pence on income tax. I mean, it's actually, on reflection, complete madness that everybody in the country got 66. You know, multi-millionaires were getting this money. It wasn't targeted. It wasn't thought through. I think there's a complete lack of sophistication about the way our energy policy works. But I just want to push back a bit on Suzanne. You know, we know that most of this is driven by massive spikes in wholesale gas prices. Yes, absolutely, you're right, of course. Some of what people are paying for is renewables, but we do need a mixed approach to how we generate our energy. And I think Labour's treading a reasonably sensible line, actually, by not chucking out the baby with the bathwater. They've just approved a massive new oil field. So I think sensible
but
approach.
Refusing to look at a massive, great gas field that's there right under our feet that could give us energy security for years. They're just ruling that out.
That remains to be seen. But the £300 pledge, I mean, Victoria Atkins said Labour had broken their pledge there. I mean, this is for the end of the Parliament to cut energy bills by £300. So let's see on that. Okay. I'll be interested, by the way, to see what Richard Tice has to say, because as far as I can see, Reform's policy here is a windfall tax on renewable energy, which is crackers.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, we've got him after 8 o'clock this morning. Suzanne, could we talk about Mike Amesbury, the Labour MP? Well, he was a former Labour MP. But anyway, the thing that, I mean,
he still is the MP. This is the weird thing. He hasn't resigned.
Oh, yeah, but he's a former Labour rep.
Yes, sorry, I'm with you. I've got you. Yes.
But the bit that amazes me about all of this, so there he is, Mike Amesbury, he thumps this guy, he gets sent to prison, he's sentenced to prison for what, 10 weeks, was it?
10 weeks, yes.
But the thing is, he's being paid by the Houses of Parliament while he's in prison.
I mean, it's astonishing, isn't it? How many of us, if we had a job and were sent to jail, would still get paid? So he's still getting his MP salary of £91,346 a year.
He hasn't resigned.
That's the system. I mean, you know, if he had any conscience, if he was a proper public servant, in my view, he would resign. And this is what the Reform Party is calling on him to do, because, of course, they're eyeing up a by-election in this seat as well. Reform came second in the general election. Now, they were way behind. We're talking about an 18% vote share for Reform as opposed to a nearly 53% share for Mike Amesbury. But
then if you take into account a disgraced MP and a government that's not doing so well in the polls, I mean, that they could really be in with a shot here, couldn't they?
They absolutely could. So he's got a 10-week conviction, which is the minimum that's needed for a recall petition to be set up. So you have a recall petition in his constituency. If 10% of the electorate sign that, there's got to be a by-election. So it's popcorn stuff. Could we have another by-election very soon?
But Labour won't want one, will they? Because
this is
they won't want to give it away to...
No, this is their 16th safest seat in the country.
Yeah.
But as I say, Reform are snapping at their heels. You've hit the nail on the head, Ellie. Labour are performing atrociously. It could be very interesting.
Right. Those were depressing stories, but it gets more depressing. So, Andy,
I thought we were going to do something lovely.
Andy and Suzanne, just imagine you're on an airplane and you're travelling between Australia and London, and the person sitting beside you dies. What, Andy, would you like to happen? I mean, what can they do? What can they do? But anyway, it's a long journey and with a dead body sitting beside you.
I shouldn't laugh.
It's a horrendous story.
So this is the story of somebody who died on a long-haul flight, and then they needed somewhere to put the body, to put the corpse. So they basically used one of the vacant seats to situate this dead body for the remainder of the flight.
That's not the dead body, that's the man who was sitting in the...
Well, I noticed the man is staring very, very decidedly straight ahead, trying not to look
You'd have to, wouldn't you?
He's right, I mean, goodness me.
Is it always worse having them in a body bag? I don't know. I don't know whether
I'd rather
the body
begin to smell?
Well, not after. It's only about 4 hours. So
yeah, but then there's fluids that they can regurgitate and all sorts of things goes on.
Well, apparently it had to land in Doha for the health authorities to come on and take a look at the body, but they opened up the body in front of this poor couple.
Did they take the body off at that
They did
stage?
eventually take the body off, but they wanted to take a look at it first, so that couple weren't moved along, and they took a look at that body. So
I suspect
traumatising for everyone.
Coming.
Yeah, potentially.
Probably.
If that ever happened to you, I mean, have you ever been on a plane or a train or whatever and someone has died beside you?
But that is common practice. I was listening to a podcast the other day and an air hostess was saying, you think that we put them in the toilet, you put the body in the toilet, you don't. You just have to find a vacant seat, as you say.
I suppose you need to leave the toilet available.
And put them there. But anyway, we're out of time with you both. Andy, Suzanne, thank you very much. We'll see you in the next hour. Let's go check on the weather now, because it's wet, wet, wet.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Plenty of sunny spells on offer today, but also plenty of showers. And some of these could be a bit heavy with the risk of a little bit of hail and some thunder too. Through this morning, the showers are most frequent across northwestern parts. But as we go through the day and into the afternoon, they are going to become a bit more widespread, spreading across many parts, though towards the southeast, largely avoiding them here. Like I said, some of the showers could be on the heavy side, and there could be a bit of hail and thunder mixed in with them as well. Temperatures are around or a touch above average for the time of year. Many places towards the south getting into double figures, highs of around 11 or 12 Celsius. More showers to come as we go towards the end of the day, but like I said, fewer showers towards the southeast of the UK, so a largely dry evening here with some clear spells, perhaps a greater chance of a few scattered showers across more western parts of England and Wales. Plenty of showers still to end the day across Northern Ireland and much of Scotland too, especially towards the west. Some of them here still on the heavy side, and there could be a bit of winteriness, perhaps a little bit of sleet or snow over the highest ground. But as we go overnight, we are going to see most of those showers clearing away, and we are going to have largely clear skies, particularly towards the east, clinging onto those clear skies. Meanwhile, further west, the cloud is going to build. We're going to have some rain pushing in and some strengthening winds too. Where that happens, temperatures are going to pick up as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning, but in the east it is going to stay quite chilly. There could be a touch of frost in some places, also some mist and fog patches as well. That wet weather in the west does spread its way east and southeastwards as we go through Wednesday. There's likely to be a bit of sleet and snow over the higher ground of the hills, and there could even be some rumbles of thunder as that rain pushes through. There will be some brighter weather ahead and behind the rain, but also plenty of showers feeding in through the afternoon too, and temperatures down a nudge compared to today. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Buses replaced trains between Kilwinning and Ayr because of electrical supply problems earlier. On the M62 in North Yorkshire, 2 lanes are closed westbound at junction 34 at Selby after an accident causing queues. On the M1 in Derbyshire, the southbound exit is partly blocked by a breakdown at junction 28. The Alfreton and Mansfield turn. In Lincolnshire, the A1101 is blocked by an accident on Wisbeach Road at Long Sutton. Train services are suspended between Herbert and Pontypridd because of a points failure. In Hertfordshire, the A10 is partly blocked by an accident at Church Lane in Cheshunt, causing delays. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking half an hour in westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. And on the M27 in Hampshire, there's a lane closed eastbound where someone's broken down between junctions 8 and 9 towards Fareham, causing queues. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Don't miss your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on the 7th of March. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
On television, on radio, online, you are very welcome. Headlines on this Tuesday morning: energy bills set to soar. It's another blow for millions of you.
The watchdog Ofgem reveals the energy price cap is set to rise by 6.4%, adding hundreds of pounds to your energy bills.
Ed Miliband, the Energy Minister, reacts to the decision. Is the government, though, doing enough? Your views?
This will be very worrying for many families, and it's driven by the rise in global gas prices, but this government is determined to act.
Despite the government blaming those soaring prices on the gas market, new analysis for GB News shows the biggest culprit is actually the explosion in subsidies for renewable energy and net zero policies.
Yes, the average household bill going up by £111 this year. Added to that, water bills going up, council tax bills going up. Are those net zero subsidies biting? Are customers willing to keep paying for it?
Farmers, they keep fighting as the NFU conference takes place today. The government is being urged to reset its relationship with agricultural workers.
New powers for police and one of the biggest updates for decades. Officers could search for stolen goods without a warrant.
Romance or rivalry? The French president becomes the first European leader to meet President Trump as their awkward handshake at the White House goes viral. It got worse than that.
I said, that's not what we said. He's a smart customer, I will tell you that. Sure. I have no idea what he's saying, but...
Could your phone be the secret to keeping healthy? Well, Apple thinks so. We have an exclusive TV interview with the tech giant about how they're planning to revolutionize hearing aids.
Hearing is your connection to the world. It's how you communicate. It's how you build relationships. It's it's core to your social being.
So all over Westminster, paintings, photographs depicting political leaders, great political leaders of the past, have been removed since Labour took office. So we're asking, is Britain actually ashamed of its past?
And in sport, Leeds United looking more and more likely for a return to the Premier League as they beat second-place Yorkshire rivals Sheffield United 3-1 at Bramall Lane last night. 4 more Premier League games tonight, and Manchester United, can they save any more money?
We have sunshine and showers today, and then a spell of more persistent rain arriving tomorrow. For more details on this, stick around as I'll have the info coming up.
A very good morning to you on this Tuesday morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Fascinating interview coming up between Danny Mills and George Mills. George Mills, a 3,000-metre runner. Danny Mills, former Leeds United footballer.
Yep.
Paul,
father and son.
Raised questions for you, or raised an association for you?
Yeah, I'm trying to work out, because are there many sports stars and the sons or daughters of that person who are also professional sports people but play a different sport?
Well, not exactly. Take Gary Neville, for instance. His sister, I think her name's Suzanne, she used to be top netball player.
Yeah, she's in Australia now.
England. She's out coaching in Australia.
Yeah.
So I know, but that's a connection, but it's not the connection you're looking for.
So you've got Danny then, who played for Leeds, played for England, and his son George, very successful. He's actually the 3rd fastest miler as far as we've had. Only Sebastian Coe and I think Cram have run faster than him. I think he's faster than Ovet's ever done.
But his winning margin was massive this week.
Yeah, I mean, he won by 10 seconds in the 3,000 metres, so he's a really great athlete. So we're going to speak to both of them. So I'm very excited about that, father and son. You know?
That'd be great.
OK, we've got them at, what, 20 past 8?
Around 20 past half past.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, a blow for households. From the 1st of April 2025, the quarterly energy price cap will increase by 6.4% to £1,849 per year.
How did they get away with it? 6.4%? You couldn't get a pay rise of 6.4%. No. Well, for a typical household, that will add £9.25 a month to your energy bill.
An average of £111 per year. Well, this morning, the government are pointing the finger at the rising prices on the use of fossil fuels.
The only way we can have the energy security that British people deserve is by getting off fossil fuels that are controlled by petrostates and dictators.
and in the meantime, you'll go broke. Analysis for GB News shows the biggest culprit is the explosion in subsidies for renewable energy and net zero policies.
Well, in response to this increase, nearly 3 million households in the UK will now be eligible for the £150 warm home discount next winter, bringing the total number of recipient homes to an estimated 6.1 million.
Look, so here's my point. Why give out rebates when they just shouldn't allow the increase in the first place? You know?
Or don't scrap winter fuel allowance for pensioners.
Yeah. Adam Cherry, our reporter, with more on this. Adam, good morning to you.
Good morning. Yeah, it's striking when you read those figures out, isn't it? I'll just bring you a couple more to give some context to this, to give an idea of how badly this has gone so quickly, actually. So let's hear from the analysis provided by Warm this winter. And actually, it's even worse than this because they were basing this analysis on a 5% increase. The reality is a 6.4%. Even so, the organisation says that the average household would have been likely to pay around £750 more this year for energy compared to winter 2020-2021, which is a 75% increase. Just unbelievable, £750 more. And then if you look at just electricity prices in the last decade alone, since 2015 it's jumped from £664 per year for the average household to £994. On top of that, of course, you've got your council tax this year going up, your water bill going up. And the question is, as you said throughout the programme, is this being fueled by net zero policies and the subsidies that customers are having to pay on top of their bills? So just continue with that analysis. As you mentioned, Professor Gordon Hughes, who has provided some analysis for GB News from the University of Edinburgh, says the biggest culprit here is the explosion of subsidies for renewable energy and net zero policies, and actually it's representing about £223 per person, per household. Now we have heard, as you just played, the Energy Secretary Ed Miliband, who during the election campaign vowed that the Labour government would get energy prices down per customer for about 300 quid. Doesn't look like that's happening. Of course, as you'd expect, the opposition parties are jumping all over that figure. So we heard from Andrew Bowie MP today, who is the shadow acting energy secretary. He said the latest hike in the price cap is a betrayal to the families who Ed Miliband promised to save £300 on their bills. Labour's election promise is shot and bills are on the rise. I'm here in Cornwall. I'm going to be talking to local people about how they feel about that, how they feel seeing their bills rise, and frankly, can they afford it?
That's the question, Adam. Thanks very much indeed for the update. We're going to get reaction now from the Deputy Leader of Reform UK. Listening to that, Richard Tice. Richard, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, although there's nothing much good about it when you see these prices, you hear these prices, and you try and think, what's this achieving, and when will it achieve it? It's not even so much that we've got to pay more. It's that we've got to pay more on top of everything else, and this won't be the last thing. And it just goes on and on and on, and it's as if nobody in government ever looks at people and think, how much can they take?
Eamonn, it's far worse than that. I'm afraid that you've just played a clip of the Energy Secretary misleading the British people, blaming the increase in the price of gas. Let me just tell your listeners and viewers, the price of gas has fallen by 10% since the beginning of January. The price of gas is exactly where it was last November. So these price increases of 6.4% since January is totally due to the renewable subsidies. They're up 18% since last July, and the British people have been sold a complete and utter pup by this government. All of this is on net stupid zero. We're calling it out. If there was no net zero, there would be none of these price increases and bills would come down significantly. That is the cost, the damage to the British people of net zero. Our bills are up, our cost of living is up, jobs are being put at risk at places like Cowley, they've gone at Luton, the car industry. All of this is because of net zero, and the government is deeply, deeply misleading the British people.
So Reform's plan for energy is to scrap net zero. I've got it here in front of me, Reform UK's plan. So windfall tax on renewable generated power, solar farm tax on farmers that are taking the renewable subsidy, a ban on battery energy storage systems, and legislate to force National Grid to put cables underground, right? So this is a bold plan, but many would say this isn't free market, which is what you're supposed to stand for.
Again, that's an assumption. The point is that government is there to try and make life better for people and for markets to work. We haven't got a free market at the moment because of all the subsidies. So what our policies do is, in a sense, offset these vast subsidies because of net zero and put the money back into people's pockets, not into the developers and the promoters of all these renewables. The vested interests in the renewables industry are making fortunes at the cost of the British people. So we're going to reverse that. That's our plan. We're going to protect the British countryside by protecting them from the blight of hundreds or thousands of huge, ugly pylons, as well as protect people from the dangers of the very expensive battery storage systems, one of which, even since I announced that policy some 10 days ago, a new battery storage system, not yet operational, has just gone up in flames in Essex, in the constituency of my colleague James McMurdoch. These things are dangerous.
Richard, I'm just looking at viewer comments coming through, and it's heartbreaking. It really is, what people are having to choose between, and people are very depressed by all of this. But basically, they're saying, I mean, here's a quote. Ed Miliband had said, Richard says fuel bills are going through the roof. Well, there's a surprise. Miliband must have known this would happen by pursuing this deranged net zero policy. However, the Labour elitists don't care, says Richard. I'm sure you'd very much agree with that. But here's my point. If planet warming, if climate control is an issue, well, you know, let's just accept it's an issue. What on earth do you do? How can you address both? How can you care for the planet, and how can you reduce fuel bills? What's the answer?
It's really, actually, I mean, it's really quite simple. You know, the climate's changed for millions of years. It always will. What you do is you adapt to it. 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, it was 1.5 degrees warmer in the UK than it is now. Human beings adapt. That'd be much, much cheaper than thinking you can stop the power of the sun or stop the power of volcanoes. You can't. If we get rid of all of net zero, the bills will come down, the cost of living will come down. That's the critical thing to help people feel better off in their pocket at the end of each week. It's really not very difficult. And this crisis was caused by the Tories imposing net zero on us and has been accentuated by Labour. And I'm delighted that Reform UK were calling it out. And it's funny, isn't it? We seem to be top of the polls. Maybe people are listening to us.
Richard, can I ask you about something entirely different, and that is Mike Amesbury, the MP for Runcorn and Helsby. You will know he's been jailed for 10 weeks now for assaulting a constituent. He hasn't resigned, so he will continue to receive his £91,000 salary. But there will presumably be a recall petition in these weeks and months to come. Do you fancy your chances in his seat, Reform UK?
Well, we'll certainly be going for it big time and working very, very hard. We won't take anything for granted. Nothing's easy, and indeed, nor should it be, of course. But we will go for it as soon as the by-election is announced. Doesn't it tell you something about Labour politicians? That here's a man who punched and thumped one of his constituents, has been sent to jail, but he doesn't have the moral decency or integrity to resign and accept that he can't be paid by the taxpayer. I mean, honestly, in no private sector business would that be allowed to continue. Oh, but if you're a Labour politician, just keep taking the shilling from the taxpayer, even when you're in jail. I think that tells us a lot about the complete collapse in integrity amongst socialists.
Richard Tice, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Richard Tice from Reform UK.
And let us know what you think on any of those issues that we were discussing with Richard. gbnews.com/yoursay.
The National Farmers Union Conference is taking place today. Farmers' fury continues against the government over changes to inheritance tax announced in the October budget.
Well, the government is being urged to reset its relationship with farmers and do the right thing after months of protests.
President Tom Bradshaw has called out the government for breaking promises with a morally wrong policy. That's a good point, morally wrong. I mean, things can be technically right or whatever, but morally wrong. Catherine Foster at the scene of the conference today for us. Catherine, good morning to you.
Yes, good morning. Well, the security at the QE2 Centre, where this annual NFU conference is being held, is absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything like it. It's literally, for people that don't know the geography of central London, 1 minute from the Houses of Parliament. There are metal barricades all around the centre. There are tractors already. And of course, we've seen hundreds and hundreds of tractors, haven't we, come to Westminster before. So this is where the NFU president, Tom Bradshaw, will be speaking about 10 o'clock, followed by the Environment Secretary, Steve Reid. I think he's likely to get a pretty rough ride, frankly, because the message from the farmers about those inheritance tax changes announced by Rachel Reeves in that bombshell budget last October. The farmers' message is, we will not go away, we will not stop, we will not give in. They've dubbed the Prime Minister Starmer the Farmer Harmer. They want the government to think again about those changes to inheritance tax. They say it's going to drag basically, many family farms are going to be put out of business because they simply won't be able to pay the bill. Now, Steve Reid for the government will be trying to get them onto a better footing. He's promising investment. The government have said $5 billion over the next couple of years into farming. Also, to improve profitability, they're saying that the seasonal worker visa route is being extended to get workers in to help pick those crops. Also, that they want new government catering contracts to be prioritising British food. I have to say, the anger is really off the chart with the government. I was at the Oxfordshire Farming Conference last month. You could hear the horns of the tractors blaring outside all through Steve Reid's speech.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of response he gets today, Catherine. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you later.
Alex Burkhill, we're going to talk to him now. He's got the weather update.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Plenty of sunny spells on offer today, but also plenty of showers. And some of these could be a bit heavy with the risk of a little bit of hail and some thunder too. Through this morning, the showers are most frequent across northwestern parts. But as we go through the day and into the afternoon, they are going to become a bit more widespread, spreading across many parts, though towards the southeast, largely avoiding them here. Like I said, some of the showers could be on the heavy side and there could be a bit of hail and thunder mixed in with them as well. Temperatures are around or a touch above average for the time of year. Many places towards the south getting into double figures, highs of around 11 or 12 Celsius. More showers to come as we go towards the end of the day, but like I said, fewer showers towards the southeast of the UK, so a largely dry evening here with some clear spells, perhaps a greater chance of a few scattered showers across more western parts of England and Wales. Plenty of showers still to end the day across Northern Ireland and much of Scotland too, especially towards the west. Some of them here still on the heavy side, and there could be a bit of winteriness, perhaps a little bit of sleet or snow over the highest ground. But as we go overnight, we are going to see most of those showers clearing away, and we are going to have largely clear skies, particularly towards the east, clinging onto those clear skies. Meanwhile, further west, the cloud is going to build. We're going to have some rain pushing in and some strengthening winds too. Where that happens, temperatures are going to pick up as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning, but in the east, it is going to stay quite chilly. There could be a touch of frost in some places, also some mist and fog patches as well. That wet weather in the west does spread its way east and southeastwards as we go through Wednesday. There's likely to be a bit of sleet and snow over the higher ground of the hills, and there could even be some rumbles of thunder as that rain pushes through. There will be some brighter weather ahead and behind the rain, but also plenty of showers feeding in through the afternoon too, and temperatures down a nudge compared to today. Bye-bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Yeah, thanks for listening this morning. Thanks for watching. Remember, we are on radio, and if you're heading out in the car, you can take us with you, remember.
Yes, no excuses. Now it's time for the Great British Giveaway. If you want to be one of our 2 new winners, each with a new iPhone, shopping vouchers and £10,000 in tax-free cash, here are all of the details that you need.
Don't miss your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British Giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on the 7th of March. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Interesting one coming up next. Paintings in Westminster and Downing Street in particular of great British political leaders removed from those buildings after Labour were elected in government. So what's your view on that? I reckon we've got enough paintings to go round of enough issues and things to celebrate and things to commemorate and whatever. What do you think?
Yeah. So we're asking this morning, are we ashamed of our past if we're taking down these historical figures? Well, they're replacing them, you see, with modern things like a COVID anxiety. I think Rachel Reeves has got a nice modern painting about COVID anxiety. Lots of red swirls. Anyway, let us know what you think about that one. gbnews.com/you'll say. We're going to be talking about it next.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
It's very emotional. It's designed to shock. What do you want people to take away from that advert?
I think, very sadly, a lot of people don't realise the violence and death that's prevalent in the dairy industry. For a cow to produce milk, she needs to be made pregnant, and then for humans to have that milk, the calves are snatched away. So that goes on for around 5 years. The cows are made pregnant every year. Terrible diseases occur because they are producing 10 times more milk than is natural. And then they are killed. The calves that are taken away, if they're male calves, are shot. And for the female calves, just like their mums, they're going to go through the same thing.
We've got Kelly Seaton here, who appears to have a cow nudging you, Kelly, behind you. That cow looks quite content with you.
The industry has worked incredibly hard. We have an excellent resource in that we can use semen, so actually the amount of bull calves that are born is a lot less than what it used to be. We're working really hard to ensure that every calf has goes down the right route. So actually shooting bull calves isn't a practice that takes place any longer.
We can be kind, we should be kind.
And
We
I'm
don't
kind
need
to my kids by giving them cow's milk, which is full of vitamins A, magnesium, zinc, B12, calcium, vitamin D. This is stuff that children need to grow, isn't it, Kelly? And I think what my problem is, Ben, is that your commercial is all about emotion. It's manipulating. It's not facts. You're not laying out facts about the dairy industry.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Lovely. Now, pictures, paintings. Do you like pictures or paintings?
I love pictures and paintings. Do you like pictures and paintings?
I do, and I have. I like the idea, collect movie posters and whatever. But
you like portraits as well, don't you? Yes.
Yeah, but I have this. What I think is, everything outstays its welcome.
Oh.
So you can be into something for 5 years or so, and then afterwards you think, oh, I'd like to move on from that. And that's what the government have done. Because since Labour came into power, portraits of Winston Churchill and other renowned prime ministers have been removed.
Yes, drawings, prints and photographs of the Second World War have also been taken down since Keir Starmer walked into number 10.
I'm sure what we're seeing there is nothing to do with what's
With
going on
Downing Street.
Yeah,
Yes.
But anyway, it wasn't as brutal as that. But the question we are asking, is Britain ashamed of its past? Political historian Luke Blaxill. Luke, good morning to you.
Good morning, Eamonn.
Good morning. Look, I think there's a lot of history. There's a lot of history and a lot of people to be commemorated and a lot of aspects of history. Is it right that we should just concentrate on a certain avenue, for instance?
No, I don't think it is. I think too often we're obsessed with remembering a tiny elite of great men at the top, and British history is a much wider and deeper story, sometimes from below as well. There are campaigners, activists, social reformers who deserve to be remembered, perhaps as well as just statesmen and policymakers. And Parliament shouldn't just be a Churchill museum. I mean, there are 10,000 works of art in the Parliamentary art collection, and perhaps maybe taking Churchill or the Duke of Wellington or William Gladstone down for a rest in the archive gives us an opportunity to tell stories, for example, of reformers like Major John Cartwright, Henry Hunt, Robert Owen, Chartists like Lovett and O'Connor, trades unionists like John Burns and William Roberts, or maybe some women like Ellen Wilkinson, Millicent Fawcett, or Georgina Brackenbury. Many of those are very considerable people who I don't think the public or perhaps even the political class have ever heard of. So I do think it's important that we expand our purview of interest beyond the quite narrow pantheon of great
Look, you just made me think there when you were mentioning all those names and women and whatever, and they are the obvious ones. But then people like, you know, I grew up in Northern Ireland, Mo Mowlam, and I think, you know, she was a very significant politician and achieved so much. And it's not right that you sort of forget people like that and they're never mentioned again and you don't introduce them to a whole new generation.
Absolutely. I mean, some people who feel as though they were in more recent political memory, like I can remember Mo Mowlam as well, may have faded from younger generations' conceptions. And so it's probably important that they are memorialized. I mean, as for, you know, Winston Churchill himself, and obviously there are a lot of debates about his likeness, I suppose, being removed. He himself wouldn't have wanted us to just simply kind of worship him when we could be learning the stories of other people. He wouldn't have wanted to have been placed on a pedestal. Rather, he would have wanted to be critically remembered amongst others, rather than just passively revered.
It is a shame, though, isn't it, Luke, when you look at this list? I mean, let's take the Prime Minister, for example. He has removed several paintings from his office, including a portrait of Elizabeth I, Margaret Thatcher, and also a portrait of William Shakespeare. So that is our longest reigning monarch, our first female Prime Minister, and our greatest ever playwright. There is now no trace of William Shakespeare, by the way, in Downing Street.
But OK, you could say he's ticked that box.
But that's a great shame.
He's moving on.
That's a great shame, do you not think? And that's two women there that are being represented.
Well, certainly if I was Keir Starmer or indeed Rachel Reeves, I wouldn't have decorated my offices in that way and I would have kept those people there. But I think it's important to remember that portraits aren't statues. Portraits can be changed round. They can be placed into storage and moved to different places, whereas statues are much more permanent memorials. It probably shouldn't be a surprise to your viewers that, you know, they've just put in, well, your viewers perhaps, but the British public have just put in Labour with a thumping majority, and Labour politicians have different political heroes to those that Conservatives might have had.
Yeah.
So probably we're going to see less prime ministers, less statesmen, more social reformers, more suffragettes, more ethnic minorities. I mean, at the end of the day, history is a mirror to our times. And if we change, that reflection will also change too. Hence the art
well
shop.
spoken. Look, I think I tend to agree with you. And it's not easy. It's not easy to change like that. But, you know, it's you know, you can't say in my day we had this because it's not our day anymore. But anyway, look, thanks very much indeed. You've got people talking and thinking, and we're going to reflect those views throughout the programme this morning. Let's have your say.
Yeah, Pixie says, Britain isn't ashamed of our past, it's just that our government doesn't like Britain. Verna says, not me, I'm proud of our country, but it appears the Labour Party isn't. I think it's disgusting that anyone in number 10 has the right to do this. And Tom says this government is certainly ashamed of what makes this country great.
Well, we've got a father and son certainly not ashamed of each other. We've got Mr. and Mr. Junior Mills. So we've got Danny Mills and we've got George Mills. One's a footballer, one's a runner.
Yeah.
See if you can work out. Paul Coyte's neither of those, but he'll be among it all after this.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding on the M1 towards Belfast. The outside lane's closed where someone's broken down at junction 2 at Balmoral, causing queues. On the M62 in North Yorkshire, 2 lanes are closed westbound at junction 34 at Selby after an accident with queues towards there. The M62 on Merseyside is partly blocked westbound at junction 6 for the M57 at Tarbock Island. In Lincolnshire, the A1101 is blocked by an accident along the Wisbeach Road at Long Sutton. On the M42 in Warwickshire, the southbound exit at junction 3A for the M40 is partly blocked by an accident. Train services are suspended between Herbert and Ustred Rhondda because of a points failure. In Hertfordshire, the A10 is partly blocked by an accident at the junction with Church Lane in Cheshunt, causing queues. And on the M26 in Kent, it's taking half an hour in queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Here's Paul, here's the sport.
Morning, Paul.
Morning. Sheffield United 1, Leeds 3, top of the championship.
Magnificent win for Leeds.
Yeah, it really is. But
Leeds are doing well.
Leeds are doing extremely well.
Yeah.
The thing you've got...
Yorkshire's doing well.
Yeah.
Well, you've got Sheffield United in second. Daniel Farke, who's the manager of Leeds United, he's done it with Norwich, you see. Very good at taking them up from the championship. Is it going to work out? What if, maybe I'm sort of going a little early. But anyway, Sheffield United 1, Leeds 3. Sheffield United went 1-0 up, bit of a mistake for the goalkeeper, but then Leeds came through, and now they've got 11 games to go. 10 of them are going to be against teams that are in the bottom half.
Former Leeds player, your mate Danny Mills.
Yes.
We've got Danny here, and Danny, we've got you there because you're a proud dad today.
Yeah, so always a proud dad, Eamonn. I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, good weekend for my eldest George. Won the British champs. 3,000 metres and qualified now for the Europeans and the Worlds in China later in next month.
But Danny, he didn't just win, he just won in style. I mean, incredible distance between him and the rest of the field. It's exceptional, isn't it?
Yeah, we knew he was in good shape. He broke the British record, or Mo Farah's British record, Josh Kerr's British record a couple of weeks before that in northern France. So we knew he was in great shape. But it's one of those, you still have to turn up. You have to make the top two to make the championships. You have to, perform on the day. And that's exactly what he did. Fortunately, it's one of the easier watches. We've had some tough watches over the past few years. Athletics, I say, is the most nerve-wracking sport to watch on the planet. It's like watching sudden death penalty shootout, for 7, 12 minutes, whatever it is. It's not easy. One mistake, and it can be over. So yeah, it's a nerve-wracking one.
What do you like then as a spectator, especially? I mean, I know what it's like when you watch athletics, especially when you're coming into that last 100 metres. Look, and there's son George there. He's with us as well. Morning, George.
Morning. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to ask you this question instead of Danny. What's your dad like when he's watching it?
You'd be better off asking someone else because I obviously don't see him. But from what I hear, he's stressed.
George, congratulations on your win at the weekend. That's incredible.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was nice to get the win. Actually, my first British title in 5 years, so it had been a while. But yeah, very happy to tick that box with the process for the next couple of months.
George, what sort of influence was Dad on your athletic career?
A huge influence, to be honest. Obviously, he's taught me the fundamentals of like hard work and discipline and how to apply yourself in professional sport. So I think that's really helped me to become a professional athlete and know how to live my life to really get the best out of myself.
You know, one of the great phrases, and I think everybody goes through this as a kid and also as a dad, they always say it's the happiest and the saddest day of your life, the moment that your son beats you at sport. And is that the same with you, Danny? What do you remember when he beat you over on a foot race?
Yeah, it was quite a long time ago. He's been substantially quicker for me for some time. Although I've still faster than him over the marathon. He will tell me that he's yet to run one, and that is the only reason. But yeah, it's all my kids are better than me at pretty much everything they do now. So yeah, age is catching up with me, unfortunately.
Yeah. George, I remember being at school and running, and I ran for quite a few years, middle distance running. And the secret with what you do, 3,000 metres, for instance, let's take that. That is an odd distance. That is a strange distance to come to terms with. You know, how fast do you go out of the traps? How long do you hold yourself for? How do you avoid the stitches? You know, there's so much going through your mind there.
Yeah, so obviously when it comes to racing, it's almost second nature now. Like, you've done so much training over the years and you know your body so well, so you're pretty sure with what your body can deal with and what you can do. And my cue is to just try and switch off my brain and let my body do the work, because I think going off instinct and feel is the best thing you can do.
Cordy, did you ever run?
No, I did have a go. I think I was always smaller than everybody else. So by the time I did run a marathon, I have actually run a marathon like Danny, but middle distance.
A marathon, I mean, where I agree with George, no wonder Danny beats him. A marathon is just beating up your body. It's like a near-death experience.
You know what I love, and Danny will probably remember the golden era. I think even Danny's too young to remember the golden era of Cram and Co and Ovit. And you've got, I think you're third fastest of all time when it comes to Brits doing the mile. Is that right, George? Because there's something very special about that mile record. I think you're faster than Ovit, and it's Cram and Co. Is there anything that thinks, I want to do that and be the fastest miler everywhere, or is it now sort of 1,500, 5,000?
Yeah, of course. I think you see the records from 15 to 5K at the moment, and definitely further along in the future. And they're definitely things that I'm looking at and thinking, okay, I don't think that's impossible. Maybe the longer distances are more likely in the future, but it's something we'll work towards. And if the right race comes, then we'll try to do it.
Danny,
do you follow football?
I watch a lot. Yeah, I watch my brother mostly now. I'm not really a fan of a team anymore, to be honest. But yeah, I'd say
What is your brother?
I'm a supporter of Stan, so Oxford fan at the moment, I guess.
Oh. Danny, what about Leeds for the title?
Well, the result last night was magnificent.
Yeah.
I thought they didn't turn up in the first half. I'm not sure what was going on. It was a really poor performance. But second half, they came out. Their forward line is exceptional. They've got 8 forward players. They choose 4. They
Absolutely,
can change
a goal
4.
could come from anywhere.
Yeah, and they just go for it. As simple as that. It looks like now, they should make the top 2. Be very, very disappointing. If they don't make the top 2. It looks like there'll be a fantastic derby, Manchester United and Leeds next season.
Absolutely.
Unless you'd like to get it completely wrong.
We need somebody to beat,
Well, no, but Leeds are probably going to be playing in the Premier League, and Manchester United might be in a different league, so it may not happen. There's always going to be the cup.
Guys.
Just before we let you two go, can I just ask what Christmas Day is like in your house? Because I can imagine how competitive it must be over a game of Monopoly or a game of Jenga. I mean, with the two of you, how does it work?
You don't really do. It hasn't happened for a few years, has it?
What's Christmas Day? Sportsmen don't have Christmas Day. We might do parkrun in the morning, maybe in a different country, and that's about it.
Gosh. Well, look, happy Christmas to you. Maybe maybe be the first to wish it to you. George, absolutely superb. It was great watching you on Sunday. And Danny, always a pleasure to talk to you. Good luck to Leeds as well. We've got to leave it there, guys. Thank you very much indeed. Have a good day.
Yeah, good luck with the Europeans there, George.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That's coming up in a week's time. European Indoor. Yeah. That's his next one. And as Danny mentioned, the World Championship Outdoor, that's coming up in the summer. So wish him well.
Top man. Thank you very much indeed,
Thanks,
Paul.
Pointy.
We've got the newspapers. We'll speak in the news right after this.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're heading away for some winter sun through this week, there will be some fine weather around across parts of the Mediterranean, but currently around the eastern Med it's still fairly unsettled. Some heavy rain, some strong winds and temperatures well below average for the time of year, but these are gradually going to be lifting. Further west, a drier story across many parts of, France and Spain, but there is some wet weather starting to push its way in as we go later on this week. Otherwise, some decent sunshine on offer. See you later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
5 years ago now, we developed this campaign called Regifting Beauty. And Regifting Beauty is about giving back to those that are in less fortunate situations than the majority of us. And I was coming across people that were receiving gifts at Christmas. You know how many gifts we receive? Gift sets, items, bath bombs, all of these things that we don't necessarily use. For myself, they sit in the bathroom cupboard all year round. So I was thinking of a way how we can make that better, you know, put that to better purpose. And we developed this campaign 5 years ago called Regifting Beauty. And it's where people can donate unwanted toiletries, sanitary items, skincare, perfumes, and we work with different charities around the country, and they will re-gift them to survivors of domestic abuse. And for years now, it's only really been focused around women. There hasn't really been a male focus. So Ben and I were having conversations, and we were thinking, well, and I was getting comments throughout the years of doing it, saying, why are men excluded from this? Surely it should be applicable to men too. I mean, in the UK, over 700,000 men are suffering with domestic abuse on an annual basis. And a lot of that goes unreported. And there's over 2 million people in the UK that do suffer from some form of domestic abuse, be it physical or psychological, and it's an important topic that we should be discussing. So this campaign is about providing something that may seem trivial, but it restores some level of dignity, and I think that's so important when survivors are just trying to regain aspects of their life. Something so small that maybe sitting in your bathroom cupboard that you're not using could go to such better use. So this year we're launching the Regifting Beauty, the Turnaround Edition, about turning around moments in life and allowing people to have those turnaround moments, which also plays on Ben's, song, Turnaround.
Gotta turn
it fits in nicely with that.
Which I'll be on with you.
For the remix,
It's all fitting in nicely, isn't it?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's a delight to have Suzanne Evans and Andy Williams in the studio to continue their chat through the newspapers today. And the first story, Ellie, that you saw, and just very concerning and very disturbing for everybody involved, just really awful.
Yeah, this is the Daily Mail, Andy. A teen killer was on his way to a school massacre. Tell us a bit more about this.
Yeah, so this is the 15-year-old who, 19-year-old I think he was, who killed his family, his mother and I think 2 sisters or 2 siblings, and then having committed that horrific act, went off to go and commit basically a massacre at a school, was apprehended a mile from the school. Horrendous story, obviously. What I thought was fascinating and really disturbing about this, though, is that he was seemingly inspired by 2 things. One, extreme violence that he'd found on the internet, and I think there's a really big conversation to be had there about big tech companies and about the role that they should play, but clearly are not playing enough in stopping that sort of content, or at least moderating that content. And the second thing is he seemingly was inspired by a video game he played. So he recorded this 70-second video where he said, I'm basically going to murder my sister as retribution for a decision she made while they were playing a video game together, which is just incredible. Now, of course, this individual has to be extremely disturbed. He wouldn't have done it otherwise, but there have to be concerns about the sort of content that young people are accessing if these sorts of things are inspiring.
Well, we heard the same thing about Axel Rudakabana and extreme violence that he was looking at online, also plotting a school massacre. It's not the first time that we've heard this. Something needs to be done.
No, it's not. I mean, I think what concerned me most about this story is that there seem to be several red flags that were quite clearly there before this event happened that was somehow overlooked and not picked up on. And that is unfortunately a very similar story, I think. We know with Axel Ruda-Cabana, the Southport killer, he was referred to Prevent, nothing happened. And I just think we've got these violent people in society who people know about, and why is nothing done? Because I think this is another tragedy that could have been avoided.
It is. And one thing I would just say, and I'm reluctant to politicise this, but quite often we see these incidents happen and people scream, migration. It's to do with immigration. And in this instance, we have someone who was born in this country, who has always lived here, who has no relationship, as far as I know, with any other country. And actually what we see is that there are other reasons why people commit these acts. So it's not just because they might
there
be
always
from
have
elsewhere.
been, I think. But I think people will be shocked by this because, again, this is something that we associate with America, the school shootings. Now, in this way, this particular case, that didn't happen. But the fact that this is now commonplace in Britain...
And I noticed that, because this happened in Luton, and Luton councils gave advice to local schools saying you need to beef up your security. I mean, that's really alarming. They should have to say that.
Ruda-Cabana, anytime I see an image of him, it makes me sick. I don't want to look at him. I don't want to look at his horrible, hideous face. And if ever there was an argument for the death penalty, I think he's the poster boy. It has to be said. My view. What do you think? Let us know.
Suzanne, let's look at something totally different, shall we? Change the tone. This is in The Sun newspaper this morning. Meghan Markle. Her style is identical, says the headline. Identical to Princess Diana.
Well, I don't know if you've got some photographs here of the spread in The Sun, but basically what they've done is a double-page spread of outfits worn by Princess Diana and outfits worn by Meghan Markle, and they have tried to compare and contrast the two. So, I don't know. I think it's a little bit of a non-story, this. I wonder how difficult it would be to take two women and put them side by side and say they're wearing the same kind of outfit. You know, there's a limit to the number of colours and styles of dresses and outfits that you can wear. Possibly the most contentious one is the one when they are actually wearing identical sweatshirts, I think.
The Northwestern
but otherwise, I
sweatshirts.
do feel this is a bit of a confected story. But they both look amazing.
These are various outfits that you see Meghan Markle and Diana, and it's obviously a deliberate sort of copying of Diana's style.
I suppose we're about to see some renewed scrutiny on Meghan because I think her next Netflix documentary is coming out in the coming weeks.
Yes.
With
Love Meghan, which is her sort of life effort to become a lifestyle
it's
guru.
Meghan being Martha Stewart.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Martha Stewart, this incredibly successful American, notwithstanding her prison sentence for tax avoidance. But yeah, she's an incredibly successful woman, and I think Meghan Markle's aping her. If she's aping Diana in terms of clothes, maybe she's aping...
You can see why she'd want to emulate Princess Diana, though, because she was one of the most fashionable women ever.
Absolutely.
And loved by people and popular.
What do you mean emulate? Do you mean copy?
Well,
I mean, again, it's like Macron, you know, sucking up to Donald Trump. It's all false. This is false. It's not her.
But you'd see why you'd want to copy Diana's style, because she is so...
She was iconic, wasn't she?
Yeah, it was quite nice to fantasise. Meghan Markle and Princess Diana, I bet they'd have hated each other.
There was that,
I don't think they'd have got on at all.
There was that guy in America who said, JFK, I knew John Kennedy, and you, sir, know John Kennedy. She's no Diana. That's simple as that. Let's talk about doggies with tails. And a doggy wagging a tail, Suzanne.
Yes.
And there's a story with this one.
There is. So it's a dog called Vizsla, I hope I pronounced that right. It's a Dalmatian who has been banned from Crufts because it's had its tail surgically removed by a vet because it had a problem called happy tail syndrome, which meant the tail was wagging back and forth and it kept breaking and dislocating and fracturing. So Crufts has said no. And the owner is very, very upset about this. But come on, Crufts. It's about the only non-woke, completely non-woke competition we have out there, isn't it? It's all about perfection. It's all about beauty. No dissension from that. Absolutely tolerated. So I'm not surprised by this decision, really.
Do you have a doggy?
I look after. I've got a lovely dog I'm looking after at the moment called Otto, but he's not mine.
Is it a tail wagger?
Oh, he's got a beautiful bushy tail. He's a miniature schnauzer, and he's adorable.
I find Crufts a bit... I mean, I must say, full disclosure, I'm not a dog person, but I find Crufts a bit disconcerting. You know, you see these dogs that, well, they've been groomed within an inch of their life in a really unnatural way. It's all a bit, ugh.
And like I say, it's, you know, as much as I would normally campaign against woke stuff, the fact that this is so obsessed with eugenics, it's doggy eugenics, isn't it? Basically, that's what it is.
What I'd say about dogs is mongrels, your best bet all the time.
They're certainly easier, I think, to look after.
Yeah, absolutely. And they live longer and whatever. Yes, and I would just say adopt, don't shop.
Yeah. That poor little dog as well. You've got no control over your tail.
No.
Very sad. Anyway, Andy, Suzanne, thank you so much for your time this morning. Really good to see you both. Let us know what you think on any of those stories that we've been talking about today. gbnews.com/yoursay. Let's get a check on the weather now, shall we, with Alex Burkle, because it's a horrible night. I actually woke up this morning at 2:30 this morning with the wind and the rain outside.
Yeah.
And I think it's set to last throughout the morning. So let's get the details now with Alex.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Plenty of sunny spells on offer today, but also plenty of showers. And some of these could be a bit heavy with the risk of a little bit of hail and some thunder too. Through this morning, the showers are most frequent across northwestern parts. But as we go through the day and into the afternoon, they are going to become a bit more widespread, spreading across many parts, though towards the southeast, largely avoiding them here. Like I said, some of the showers could be on the heavy side and there could be a bit of hail and thunder mixed in with them as well. Temperatures are around or a touch above average for the time of year. Many places towards the south getting into double figures, highs of around 11 or 12 Celsius. More showers to come as we go towards the end of the day, but like I said, fewer showers towards the southeast of the UK, so a largely dry evening here with some clear spells, perhaps a greater chance of a few scattered showers across more western parts of England and Wales. Plenty of showers still to end the day across Northern Ireland and much of Scotland too, especially towards the west. Some of them here still on the heavy side, and there could be a bit of winteriness, perhaps a little bit of sleet or snow over the highest ground. But as we go overnight, we are going to see most of those showers clearing away, and we are going to have largely clear skies, particularly towards the east, clinging onto those clear skies. Meanwhile, further west, the cloud is going to build. We're going to have some rain pushing in and some strengthening winds too. Where that happens, temperatures are going to pick up as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning, but in the east, it is going to stay quite chilly. There could be a touch of frost in some places, also some mist and fog patches as well. That wet weather in the west does spread its way east and southeastwards as we go through Wednesday. There's likely to be a bit of sleet and snow over the higher ground of the hills, and there could even be some rumbles of thunder as that rain pushes through. There will be some brighter weather ahead and behind the rain, but also plenty of showers feeding in through the afternoon too, and temperatures down a nudge compared to today. Bye-bye.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M1 towards Belfast, the outside lane's closed at junction 2 at Balmoral, where someone's broken down, causing queues. On the M6 in Cheshire, there are northbound queues after traffic was stopped because of an accident between junctions 19 and 20 from Knutsford to the Lymm interchange. In Lincolnshire, the A1101 is blocked each way by an accident on Wisbeach Road at Long Sutton. The M42 in Warwickshire, the southbound exit at junction 3A for the M40 is partly blocked by an accident with delays towards there back beyond junction 4, the Shirley and Dorridge turn. Train services are suspended between Treherbert and Ustrad Ronda because of a points failure. In Hertfordshire, the A10 is partly blocked by an accident at Cheshunt, causing queues. And in East Sussex, the A259 remains closed each way along Grand Junction Road off the A23 Palace Pier roundabout in Brighton because of an unsafe building. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
There's just 2 weeks left to grab your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British giveaway. First, you'll win a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash to spend however you like. You'll also receive the very latest iPhone 16, and we'll send you on a shopping spree with £500 to spend in your favourite store. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/ win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Energy bills up again in another blow for millions of households.
The watchdog Ofgem reveals the price cap is set to rise by 6.4%. It adds hundreds of pounds to your energy bills.
Well, the Energy Minister, Ed Miliband, reacts to the decision. We're asking, are the government doing enough?
This will be very worrying news for many families, and it's driven by the rise in global gas prices, but this government is determined to act.
The Conservatives' Victoria Atkins says it's just another broken promise.
They promised to cut our bills by up to £300 over the course of this Parliament. This is yet another promise that they have broken.
And despite the government blaming soaring prices on the gas markets, new analysis by GB News shows the biggest culprit is actually the explosion in subsidies for renewable energy and net zero policies. We spoke to Richard Tice from Reform UK earlier.
And the British people have been sold a complete and utter pup by this government that all of this is on net stupid zero.
Well, this energy bill rise is even higher than expected, but it's not the only bill rise, is it? Water bills, council tax, business hikes, everything is getting a lot more expensive very quickly. Can people bear it?
And how much more can the farmers bear? They keep fighting, and at the National Farmers Union conference today in Westminster, the government is being urged to reset its relationship with them after months of protest.
New powers for police. In one of the biggest updates for decades, officers could search for stolen goods without a warrant.
Could your phone be the secret to keeping healthy? The technology giant Apple thinks so. We have an exclusive interview with the tech giant about how they're planning to revolutionise hearing aids.
Hearing is your connection to the world. It's how you communicate. It's how you build relationships. It's core to your social being.
We have sunshine and showers today, and then a spell of more persistent rain arriving tomorrow. For more details on this, stick around, as I'll have the info coming up.
On this Tuesday morning, a very good morning to you, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Energy caps, we've been featuring those today, well, from 7 o'clock this morning. From the 1st of April, quarterly energy price cap will increase by 6.4% to £1,849 a year.
Well, for a typical household, this will add £9.25 a month to energy bills, or about £111 per year.
This morning, the government is pointing the finger at rising prices on the use of fossil fuels.
The only way we can have the energy security that British people deserve is by getting off fossil fuels that are controlled by petrostates and dictators.
joined now by Minister of State for Home Affairs, Lord David Hansen. Good to see you this morning, Lord Hansen. And what's your reaction to the energy price cap increasing by 6.4% because your government promised to cut bills by £300? This is a broken promise.
Well, it's a difficult issue and it's a disappointing issue for government. But what we're trying to do, and what Ed Miliband this morning has done, is announce support for the poorest people in the community by announcing a £150 support mechanism for around 6 million people later this year. And that will, I hope, help ameliorate against the difficulties that many people face.
Well, you had support in place with the winter fuel allowance and you cut it. We've just got this email in from a pensioner, Philip, who says because of this announcement this morning, his heating will not be switched on until December the 1st. If I live that long. Heartbreaking stuff. He says, my lights are off, I'm eating salads, tinned sardines on buttered bread, no cooking for me, kettle used once in the morning for a coffee and once in the afternoon for a cup of tea. This is not a bright future for me. This is a national scandal. Aren't you ashamed listening to that?
The government's taken an awful lot of measures to help support people with the cost of living crisis, and what will happen with the energy cap and the measures that have been announced today is an additional help and support for around 6 million people. So there are very difficult challenges with energy. The Ukraine war particularly has been a major impact on energy prices, and what we have to try and do is to ensure that we support those who are most vulnerable, and that's what this government is trying to do.
Ed Miliband has been a big pressure in energy prices as well. We've done research here on the programme which shows that most of the increase lie at his feet, down to him and his green policies.
Well, we have to look at long-term issues, Eamonn, and long-term issues mean we have to transition from fossil fuel to renewable sources, and that's what the government are trying to do through solar, through wind and through other sources, and long-term planning on nuclear.
But Lord Hansen,
this government's been in office for just over 7 months.
Yeah. I get that, but you know, if things are going really bad and you know, people do not have money in their pockets and purses and whatever, and they're feeling the pain and they get increases like this, is it not? I know you're going to say, you know, they get a supplement of £150 and whatever, but why? You know, why can't you do your bit by saying, OK, we'll take the foot off the accelerator here, we'll stop all this cost, all this spending happening, and we're there on the side of consumers. The world will last another 20 years without you guys having to save it.
Well, you see, I think, Eamonn, we have to take measures to ensure that we have sustainable long-term energy sources. And long-term energy means renewable, solar, wind power and others, as well as the long-term nuclear, which is going to take a long time to achieve. We are trying to support the most vulnerable. The £150 announced this morning by the Energy Secretary is an important contribution. But make no mistake, it is very challenging times.
Can I ask you about Mike Amesbury, the ex-Labour, I should say, but now the MP for Runcorn and Helsby? He's been jailed for 10 weeks for assaulting a constituent, punching him 6 times. He's pled guilty to that. He's serving his time now, continuing to receive, I should say, his £91,000 MP salary. 2 questions for you. Why has he not resigned? Would that not be the morally right thing to do? And secondly, are you concerned about a by-election in his seat? Because it is likely that Reform UK could win.
Well, first and foremost, Mike Amesbury is no longer a member of the Labour Party. He was expelled from Labour and he's no longer a Labour MP. What he does and how he responds to his jail sentence is a matter it's a matter for him. He's an MP, but he's not a Labour MP anymore. He's been expelled from the party. He is also appealing his sentence, so it's not really appropriate for me to comment on that while the sentence is being appealed. But the key issue is whenever if there's a by-election, which I suspect there will be downstream, Labour will take its case to the people of Runcorn and Helsby. We'll argue for a Labour government and the things that we're doing, such as the police measures we're taking today of a record number of neighbourhood policing, record investment and new measures in the bill published today. And we'll take that case to the people and they will have to decide, as they do in every election.
What if they decide against you on the green policies, though? What I mean, if you're really feeling a bad vibe on those, and I know you were talking about long-term policies, and I appreciate that, but I put it to you, you know, the UK is a pimple on the bum of the world. What difference does us going alone and us creating this pain for ourselves mean when it comes to Brazil, when it comes to India, when it comes to China? I could go on and on, but you know what I'm saying, David?
Yeah, but I think, Eamonn, you would accept that the UK has to show leadership on these matters. We haven't got, for my great-grandchildren and grandchildren beyond now, we haven't got a sustainable future with fossil fuels. We need to look at how we can replace and have alternative sources. And that's a difficult transition, but it's one the government has to lead on, and one the government in this instance is leading on. And, we can say what's happening with Brazil, we can say what's happening with China. This government has to show leadership, and that's what it's trying to do.
Farmers will be gathering this morning at the National Farmers Union Conference, just a few steps from where you are now at the Queen Elizabeth II Centre in Westminster. Will you be going along? Will you be backing British and backing the farmers?
I always back British. I did that in my constituency, and the government this week's announced that we will use government procurement to buy British food and buy British goods. That's an important contribution. And I've always worked, when I was a Member of Parliament, I'm now in the Laws, when I was an MP, I always worked closely with our farming community. It's important that we support them, that they are the breadbasket of Britain, that we have to support them, but equally we have to look at some of the measures that we've taken to deal with the deficit that the current government has inherited from the previous Conservative government.
David, thanks for your time. Really appreciate all the things that you had to say, and thank you very much. But we're right out of time. We've got to say goodbye to you. Thank you.
Okay, pleasure, Eamonn. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you.
Well, we're joined now by GB News Science and Health Editor Lucy Johnston. Good to see you this morning, Lucy. And we're talking about the price cut this morning, but really the question on many people's lips is the true price of net zero.
Yes, we've had an analysis done by Professor Gordon Hughes at Edinburgh University. He was an advisor to the World Bank on energy, and he's also an economist. He's looked at the electricity portion of our bills, and the government it's got this clean power action plan, and it's trying to clean up and make all our electricity renewable by 2030. And what he's showing with his figures is that in doing that, he has increased our bills, that the increase in our electricity prices 40% of that has been attributed to these clean sources. So we're having to pay for expensive workarounds when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow. We're paying for levies, and we're also paying for the wind farms to switch off when there's too much wind and it will melt the connectors. So it's a very expensive policy. And what he's arguing is it's a very laudable aim to go green, but the government needs to be upfront about these costs and to explain them to the public and to admit that they are increasing our bills. Now, the government came back to us late last night. It's totally refuted these figures and says that the main reason for the bills is the volatile gas markets. So one could argue we need to bring up...
The gas market isn't that volatile at the minute. The price is the same as it was last year.
Well, we've looked at that as well. The Ukraine effect has sort of now no longer is a fact. But the reason why we're relying on volatile gas markets is because we're closing our own sources of gas. We've cemented over the last well for fracking. We're making it difficult to...
Lucy, when I look at this, and I'm not saying ignore the green policy and, just walk all over it, whatever. But do you think, from your research and your work, did you feel that there is another way to do this? Could there be another way where we achieve net zero? Maybe we're going too fast. Maybe it needs to be slower. Is there another way to do things and help people and the money that they're being charged for their energy?
There's a survey out today showing 1 in 3 people are suffering with their health because of the fuel bills. So one has to look at all aspects of this. There are harms and benefits, and there is a big question in science about whether we should mitigate or adapt to climate change, and how far should we go? So that is a key question that scientists are arguing about. But it's very difficult to stand out and argue against climate, get on the policy, against the policy, because one could just say, well, if we don't do it, the world will burn and all of that.
Lucy,
but it's very disputable.
Thanks for your take on things, and thanks for your investigation. It'll feature on the station throughout the day. For the moment, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Lucy. Now do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be talking about these. and hearing. What do they have in common? It's a new innovation from Apple to see what they can do with hearing aids and making people in Britain hear better. We'll tell you all about that next.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Lee Anderson's Real World, Fridays from 7 p.m.
That's football.
Wow,
you know, it's the hope that kills you.
It does. It gives you highs, it gives you lows. I mean, if you're an Everton fan at the moment, you probably had far too many lows. But as you know, I'm a Nottingham Forest fan.
Well, you must be having a huge high.
But you know, you had one of the greatest footballers ever to grace the game, Mike, and that was Dixie Dean.
Yeah, absolutely. William Ralph Dean didn't like being called Dixie, but that was his nickname. And he was born in 1907. He was my grandfather's best mate. I'm an Everton shareholder. I've been, you know, attached to the club all my life, and so was my father, so was my grandfather, our greatest ever player.
So back in the day when players like Dixie Dean were playing football for big crowds in, you know, a proper...
72,000.
Yeah, a proper working class sport back in the day, weren't it, football? Not like it is today. You've got to be pretty wealthy to afford a ticket.
Even in the 70s, right, and I've seen some, you know, I do like looking back on the football that I watched as a kid. Even in the 70s now, I've seen pictures of the turnstiles, as we used to call them, with a sign at the top, 5 shillings for the Eastern Terrace. 5 shillings. Yeah. Last time I turned down a ticket to go to a football match was Arsenal, who wanted me to pay £830 for a seat in an executive lounge. And though I could have afforded it, because I've worked all my life like you, I just thought at that point, that's ridiculous.
Well,
you know?
You should have told him you were Keir Starmer's security man. You'd have probably got him for nothing.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea. Yeah.
But you know, you go back to the the 1930s and 1940s, even the 1960s and 70s. You know, the footballers would walk to the ground and play a game, and then walk back and go for a few beers in the pub.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 9:16. Now let's talk about hearing loss, because 8 million of us here in the UK are already experiencing it, and that figure is only set to rise.
Well, that's exactly what has motivated tech giant Apple to integrate a hearing aid into their latest AirPods.
Which we have here, yes. Well, I paid a special trip to the Apple headquarters in London yesterday, where I met with the Vice President of Health, the inspiring Dr. Symbol Desi.
Yes, I thank you so much for joining us on GB News Breakfast. It's really, really good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
We are so excited about this new feature. In terms of the quality of life, how is this going to impact the individual?
It goes back to that point of hearing is your connection to the world. It's how you communicate. It's how you build relationships. It's it's core to your social being. And so our hope is that this will have impact to be able to drive connections for those who have been suffering from hearing loss and allow them to experience those special moments.
Okay, so how does the hearing aid feature actually work?
It's really simple, and that is what's so beautiful about the feature. We designed it so it could be used across all age groups, all tech savviness, if you will. You simply take a hearing test right on your iPhone using the AirPods Pro 2. It creates a personalized hearing profile, which then automatically pre-programs the AirPods Pro 2 to work as a hearing assistive device. And so just with a touch of a button, you'll now be able to augment the frequencies where you may need some assistance. And what's beautiful about the hearing test is it's a clinically validated audiogram. So we compared it to what is considered gold standard in the hearing world. And the hearing aid the hearing aid feature basically simply turns on and allows you to use it not just when you're talking with one another, like with another individual, but whether you're using it across phone calls, your media, your entertainment. So it's a really simple experience.
And have you noticed, because this has been rolled out around the world before it's come here to Britain, but have you seen a spike in people realising that they actually have hearing loss as a result of taking the test with this feature?
I can anecdotally share with you that even just in my circle and talking to people, people sometimes have picked up things that they didn't expect and noticed that they had some hearing issues. What's probably been so impactful is the letters we get from customers. One of the ones that we just got last week was a grandmother who was able to hear her soft-spoken grandchild for the first time by using this. And I think that is what's so special about it. We've already heard from customers around the world who have been able to use it over the past few months, how it's made an impact in their life.
Can we talk about you for a moment, Dr. Tice, because you are the most inspirational, incredible woman, and we want to talk to you because it's International Women's Day on the 8th of March, and you have had such a varied career.
I went to medical school, practiced for a number of years, and then decided to really look at a company like Apple, and they came calling, which was an amazing experience. But
you mentioned healthcare being personal, and it is. And I think for many people looking at this feature and wanting to use it, they will understandably be nervous about their personal health data being presumably put on the cloud. What are you doing to keep health data safe in your hands?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that question, because at Apple, we really believe that your data is your data. And in fact, so much so that your data doesn't get put on a cloud. Your data is encrypted on device locally. So your data is on your phone or on your watch. We don't actually put your data in a cloud.
Can we talk about the reaction to this rollout of this feature in the UK? You're front page of the Telegraph.
We're thrilled. And I have to say, the UK government has been such a great partner. Wes has been a great partner. You know, one of the things about our hearing aid features is it's a regulated feature because it is held to the standards of traditional medical standards of hearing aids. And as a result, we have to go through the regulatory pathway and work with the government to get clearance. And where the UK government and Wes have been so incredibly helpful is bringing this to customers in an over-the-counter manner. It doesn't require a prescription. You can simply just take the hearing test and use the feature.
What are you most proud of that Apple has rolled out in the health space so far?
That's like choosing a favorite child. That's really difficult. Cardio fitness is one that I use every day. I love to kind of see where my cardio fitness and my VO2 max is. The women's health features I'm particularly proud of because we were, I think, a company like ours getting behind women's health and talking about cycle tracking and ovulation and temperature changes that occur, educating individuals in that space. And then we receive letters every single day on our heart features, our ECG and our regular heart rhythm and high heart rate notifications. I literally hear from customers almost every day. We receive letters from, they write to Tim and we get those emails every day on how it's had impact. So I honestly can't pick one. They really are all pretty remarkable in their own way.
And you've mentioned those letters, clearly that they really touch you, don't they? How do they make you feel when you read those and see the impact that it's having on people's lives?
They do, and they motivate our team. They're like fuel for our team to do even more. And I think we all read them, and often, to be honest, they surprise us. We just received one recently. We have a vitals feature on Watch where you're able to look at different metrics around your heart rate, your sleep, your respiratory rate. And this one totally shocked me. Someone detected that they noticed on their vitals feature that they got a notification. They were feeling a little bit off. A few of their metrics were off. They went to the doctor. They ended up getting diagnosed with leukemia. And so sometimes they even blow my mind in terms of what we see. And I think they're just having impact in ways that we couldn't even imagine. And I think that's what's so special about so many of them. So it's so hard to pick one because each one of them there's just stories for each one of them that truly stay with you.
Dr. Tice, thank you so much for speaking to us. Honestly, such a pleasure to meet you. And thank you for everything you're doing in the health space as well.
Thank you so much.
And watching that with us, Andrew and Bev, who kick off at 9:30.
We're interested in that video that we've just been watching.
Do you think it would catch
Ellie?
on with these AirPods?
I think it's a brilliant idea.
Not for you.
But Andrew, do you know, I'm not asking you to tell me, but do you know if you suffer any hearing loss?
I don't think so.
Well, I didn't think so. When I was 50, I went to have my ears tested, right?
Yeah.
And they said, and they did things, and they give you a buzzer, and they fired a noise, and you go, when you hear the noise, you click, 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 and I'm thinking, this is easy. I'm doing this really well. Beep, 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 beep. And they said, very good, Mr. Holmes. You have hearing loss, which is relevant to a man of your age, just typical of a man of your age. And I said, oh, what would that be? And they said, and I was 50, 30%.
No.
What?
So by 50, you have lost 30% of your hearing.
Yeah.
I watch every
Really
TV
common.
programme with subtitles on anyway. Maybe that's why.
No, that's partly because they gabble.
Well, they do gabble. Nobody talks clearly anymore. We will be talking clearly from 9:30 this morning. We're going to be dipping into the... Tom Bradshaw's got the National Farmers Union conference this morning. Is there going to be trouble there down at Westminster? Lots of security.
Expert about the energy price cap, how you can best try and cut your bill. Because these bills... What's the average bill going to be? £1,850?
Yeah, so
that's such a lot of money.
We're going to have lots of tips for people this morning. Don't think this is just desperate. We will be helping you out in terms of your energy bills.
One of the big tips would be to get rid of our net zero policy.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And let's get rid of Ed Miliband at the same token, the Net Zero Secretary.
I like a wood-burning fire, personally, but there you go.
Appreciate it, guys.
Let's all live in medieval England.
Thank you. We'll say goodbye to you and see you bright and early again in the morning. Have yourselves a good day.
Here's the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Plenty of sunny spells on offer today, but also plenty of showers. And some of these could be a bit heavy with the risk of a little bit of hail and some thunder too. Through this morning, the showers are most frequent across northwestern parts. But as we go through the day and into the afternoon, they are going to become a bit more widespread, spreading across many parts, though towards the southeast, largely avoiding them here. Like I said, some of the showers could be on the heavy side, and there could be a bit of hail and thunder mixed in with them as well. Temperatures are around or a touch above average for the time of year. Many places towards the south getting into double figures, highs of around 11 or 12 Celsius. More showers to come as we go towards the end of the day, but like I said, fewer showers towards the southeast of the UK, so a largely dry evening here with some clear spells, perhaps a greater chance of a few scattered showers across more western parts of England and Wales. Plenty of showers still to end the day across Northern Ireland and much of Scotland too, especially towards the west. Some of them here still on the heavy side, and there could be a bit of winteriness, perhaps a little bit of sleet or snow over the highest ground. But as we go overnight, we are going to see most of those showers clearing away, and we are going to have largely clear skies, particularly towards the east, clinging onto those clear skies. Meanwhile, further west, the cloud is going to build. We're going to have some rain pushing in and some strengthening winds too. Where that happens, temperatures are going to pick up as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning, but in the east, it is going to stay quite chilly. There could be a touch of frost in some places, also some mist and fog patches as well. That wet weather in the west does spread its way east and southeastwards as we go through Wednesday. There's likely to be a bit of sleet and snow over the higher ground of the hills, and there could even be some rumbles of thunder as that rain pushes through. There will be some brighter weather ahead and behind the rain, but also plenty of showers feeding in through the afternoon too, and temperatures down a nudge compared to today. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M1 towards Belfast, the outside lane's closed where someone's broken down at junction 2 for the A55 at Balmoral, causing queues. In North Yorkshire, the A59 is blocked by an accident on Holgate Road to the Fox traffic lights in York, causing queues. In Lincolnshire, the A1101 is blocked each way by an accident on Wisbeach Road in Long Sutton. In Hertfordshire, the A10 is partly blocked by an accident at the junction with Church Lane in Cheshunt, causing queues. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking around 20 minutes in queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks, and in East Sussex, the A259 remains closed in both directions along Grand Junction Road off the A23 at the Palace Pier roundabout in Brighton because of an unsafe building causing delays. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Feathers McGraw, Wallace and Gromit's their villain, has become an unlikely hit at UK tattoo parlours. He's menacing.
He is, yeah.
And in
fact, he doesn't speak, and he's got this glove on top of his head trying to convince us he's a chicken or something.
And that is a real tattoo that someone has decided to have there. What do you two think about tattoos? Are they...